The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we're reviewing the quarter and semifinals of the New Japan Cup, previewing the New Japan Cup finals and Dominion, answering your questions, and covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SUPLEX at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SUPLEX. Young boy, we got lots of stuff to talk about today, man.
Oh, we absolutely do, and it is so good to be back here on the Ace of Podcasts. Before we begin, I just need to let you all know, over here at Parts Unknown, the weather is definitely inclement, meaning that it is storming. So if you happen to hear like a loud thundering roll, you know, that's not Rob Van Dam, that's God. He's the one rolling the thunder out here, and you actually might hear the soothing sounds of rainfall, you know, across the river next to the place I'm staying at. And, some of you might find that annoying, but if you're anything like me, you probably find that very soothing. You might even want to just like take a little sound clip of it and, you know, stretch it out, put it on repeat, have a nice little treat for yourself when you go to sleep tonight. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not coming in loud in the background, so I think we should be all good here.
Well, it doesn't matter if we're good or not because we're doing this thing. That's what's happening. Nothing I can do about it. As I said, it's God, and He's undefeated. Even if Vince McMahon wants to say otherwise.
Oh my gosh! Don't remind me of that freaking match. Yeah, we got lots of stuff to talk about today. We got New Japan Cup shows to review. We got the finals to preview, Dominion, Lions Break, Collision, Master Wato. There's so much to talk about, but I figured a good place to start with is a question that we got on Twitter from @SuperMastodon. Says, throughout the tournament so far, which NJPW wrestlers have thrived well in the no-crowd atmosphere, and who were some you think needed live fans for them to convey more compelling performances?
Oh, that's a fantastic question because I think that's something I wanted us to talk about last week. We didn't do a good enough job kind of discussing. I'm sure it'll come up, you know, as we do our reviews. But as far as, you know, those who have thrived, we'll start off there. The first person that comes to mind for me is Tomohiro Ishii.
Yep, that's the first person I was thinking about as well.
You know, it's no secret. Tomohiro Ishii is one of the best workers, you know, of his generation. One of the most underrated guys out there. I kind of liken him to being like New Japan's Cesaro at this point, basically. And the great thing with him is like, yeah, he can thrive in a setting where there's a crowd, but you know, his offense is so visceral. His selling is, you know, so compelling. And everything that he does is action packed. The facials, the voices that he makes, like he's all around already a complete performer. But in this setting, he's one of the few guys that I think truly shines.
Yeah, and it's like we've been.
Go ahead.
It's like we've been saying. The formulas to success in these empty arena matches are either the matches are really short or they're very hard hitting. And obviously with Tomohiro Ishii, Mr. Strong Style himself, the guy that all he wants to do is smash. That's exactly what we got here in all his tournament matches. They were all very hard hitting, very intense. Exactly what you were saying, young boy.
Yeah. And, my honest opinion, I think that that's a good thought. But I don't think it necessarily is the end all be all when it comes to it either needs to be short or it needs to be hard hitting. Because I think we've seen some traditional classic wrestling matches that have been pretty compelling without just strictly being like, say, a Hoss fight or something of that nature. But the matches do need to be very action packed, very compelling. And, the things that bring it down are when they're playing to the crowd, when there is no crowd, when they have spots that are designed to pop a crowd, and they're basically anticipating that we as the audience at home are that crowd. So it's like they might hope and anticipate that we're responding appropriately, but there's no way to kind of know. So sometimes it just sort of falls flat. The second person that comes to my mind that's thriving is Hiromu Takahashi.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, he's not necessarily as hard-hitting as, say, an Ishii or Nagata, but he's very dynamic. He's very charismatic. He does a lot of his offense, his Falcon Arrows, his drop kicks, his Hurricane Ranas. They're fast. They snap hard. So, yeah, he's not, killing guys with forearms like Ishii, but he has that quickness and that dynamic movement in all his matches.
Yeah, and I mean, we'd be remiss to kind of label him, say, just a spot monkey or something like that, because he's far from that. He's clearly a very talented professional wrestler in all facets. So he can do chain grappling, he can do the hard hitting stuff, he can tell stories, everything of that nature. But I think what is captivating about Hiromu Takahashi is how entertaining he is in this environment. So whereas some people in this tournament are playing to a crowd, and Hiromu has basically turned it to playing to the television audience. And there's a keen difference there. And it has to do with the way that he's making his facials. I think the match with Toriano is like a really, really good example of that. Like, he's still playing, but it's not to a fictional audience. It's literally to you directly at home. And it's a fine line to kind of walk, but you can tell the difference between someone who kind of gets that versus like, and I don't want to bury anybody, but I'll throw a name out there, like a Show. Show's still having great matches and doing really well, but he's playing to the crowd, and a lot of the guys were kind of doing that to some extent because I think it's their nature. And Hiromu's kind of found a way to kind of rise above that sort of thing. I think Nagata thrived in this setting.
Yeah.
Anyone else come to mind for you?
I mean, we only saw him one time, but Suzuki, one time in singles, we've seen the multi-man tags, but obviously the Suzuki-Nagata match was great. And I thought, if Suzuki had went on, I think he would be another guy that would have thrived. Guys like Kojima did very well in this environment. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that pops in my mind.
Well, I think we named some good names there. Let's talk about who could have done better had there been a crowd, and I think the question was specifically who needed live fans for them to convey more compelling performances.
I'm going to start with one that might be controversial to some folks, but Sonata.
Okay. That I completely agree with that. I think a lot of what Sonata does is timing based. Okay, so like he has these spots that are very snappy and impressive, but they're designed to get oohs and ahs from a Japanese crowd.
Right. They're, once again, like you mentioned earlier, his matches, his movements are designed for pops. And so, yeah, he's doing all these kind of cool moves, but yeah, there's nobody in the arena to pop for him. And obviously, he's quote unquote cold skull. He's not, very charismatic. There's not a lot of, facial expressions from him. So you're not really getting that energy that you're getting from a Hiromu Takahashi.
I'll throw a name out there, and this person has actually been pretty fantastic in the tournament. Fantastic, very good. I'll say they've been very good in the tournament, and it'll be surprising for many people to hear me say their name, but I think Kazuchika Okada.
I knew you were going to say that, and I absolutely agree with you. Okada, he's one of these guys, he has that main event style, those 30-minute classics where they start off slow and they suck the crowd in with the story they're telling, and then you build up to that crescendo at the end, that closing sequence, and then the crowd is on their seat, they're losing their mind, and that energy and that atmosphere that adds to his main event matches. Well, none of that's there for these matches.
Yeah, and the thing is like he's still having really good matches and everything of that nature, but they're still about as long as they would have been regardless, and they're still worked about the same. The only difference is he's a little more vocal. The matches, again, are good, but he hasn't really made any real adjustments as far as I can see, just from my observational eye.
Yeah, to me, he's wrestling the same exact match, just there's no crowd there.
I'm going to throw 4 names out there all at the same time because they're tied to one another. I think Ibushi, I think Taichi, I think Tanahashi, and I think Zack Sabre Jr. all needed a crowd in this tournament. All 4 of them.
Yeah. Thinking about Taichi and all the cheating and shenanigans he does, a lot of that what adds to his matches are when the crowd is booing him and chanting "Go home Taichi," or you have the dueling "Go home Taichi, let's go Taichi" chants. That adds a lot to his matches and a lot to his aura when the crowd is booing him or getting behind him. Kota Ibushi, he's another guy that's, he does all these kind of spectacular flippy moves or high impact moves that usually generate a big reaction from crowds. And even in his matches, you can tell that he was playing to crowds and he's looking to the camera and kind of firing up, looking around like he's, thinking the crowd is going to get behind him and fire him up, but there's nobody there.
Okay. Last name I'll throw out there, and this one is a little different. I think that they fall in between these two worlds. I think that they made some really great adjustments that shone throughout the tournament and showed that they kind of get it, but their overall working of the matches still was kind of the same. So they're like, if I had to like put them on a spectrum, I would lean them more towards they did better with no crowd, or, they were able to kind of overcome that, but they were inconsistent in that sense. And that's Evil. Evil is somebody who I think with his cheating, showing a mean streak, some of the antics he had, a lot of that, and then also the physical nature of his matches kind of did make him pretty compelling throughout this tournament. But there were times during the actual meets of the match where things didn't change. So it was sort of like, it was almost like he was like putting in spots that were designed for there to not be a crowd, but then the matches were still kind of worked the same. So I think he was someone who did well, all things considered, but also kind of fell in between, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And with Evil, and we'll talk about some of his matches here in a second, they would be, Evil's a hard-hitting guy, and he can wrestle that kind of never style. Like you mentioned, when you're mixing in the shenanigans of the cheating and all the chairs and the ref bumps and the crotch stomping and all this stuff, all that's generated to get heat and to get a crowd response, and it kind of takes away from all the work that he was doing in the match earlier.
I actually thought most of his cheating antics were peppered in and done in a good manner. Personally, it's my take on it, and I thought that they kind of added to the fact that there's no crowd because they see a lot of those shots. They weren't just cheap; they were also nasty. So they were violent, and they did a good job getting the point of the story over that he was kind of telling, and it was kind of low key all throughout the tournament. What I kind of mean is more like the actual way he was working the matches, the tone, the pace, the length. Some of that kind of need to be worked on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you, Mastodon or Super Mastodon. And, Jeremy, what have you been watching this tournament on?
I've been using the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com. Has great features like dark mode, improved translations, layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much, much more. It will take your NJPW World experience to the next level. Visit njpwext.us today for details. I'm telling you guys, you want to use the extension when you're watching New Japan World.
Yeah, man, we don't point you guys in the wrong direction. If we give you guys a recommendation, it's not because like we're benefiting from it. It's because it's actually really, really good. And trust me, do yourself a favor. Go on like Amazon Fire Stick or like Fire TV and try to use that app and then compare it to Danny's, and you will see a world of difference. I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, those New Japan should be paying this guy, literally.
Yeah. So let's talk about these nights here. So first night we got to review.
Here's one thing I want to say. So we've got how many nights? We got 3 nights plus the Lions Break collision. Plus we've gotten more questions than I can remember in a really long time. Plus a preview for 2 shows coming up. So what I think we should do is while we do review these, I think we need to keep it a little short because we already have. You guys know us. We got those Okado Mega 4-esque, episodes that go super long. And if we do the super in-depth analysis on every single match here, we'll be here all night. So I think we should keep it on the short side, but definitely I want to jump into these.
Definitely agree. So we'll start here at night 6. So we had a second round match here. Yoshihashi defeating Bushi 10 minutes and 22 seconds. What do you think here?
Good time. Surprisingly, this is one of the matches that I think we were dismissive of last week. And I kind of wanted to, like, going into it, I did not have high expectations. And I thought these guys really delivered. Not going to sit here and call it a classic by any means. But, and it wasn't even, I don't think, as good as Yoshihashi and, say, Tenzan. But as far as just having a good, solid opening round match, with Bushi looking really good and getting a lot of hope spots, I thought this was a good match.
Yeah, it was a solid opener. I mean, not too much to complain about. Just 2 guys kind of going out there, doing their thing. And, yeah, it was a good little match. Gentlemen's 3, a good way to kick off the show. Nothing egregious, nothing bad. It wasn't great or anything, but still a solid matchup. And Yoshihashi.
Yeah, I think just the time, because I just think because the time was so short, it didn't leave a sour taste in my mouth. I would have gone even a little higher than that, like 3 1/4 even.
Yeah. Yeah, Yoshihashi he picks the win up with the Karma and puts Bushi away here.
Nice.
So then we move on to Sonata defeating Sho, 14 minutes and 43 seconds.
Really, really good match. This was something that last week when we talked about it, we didn't know what this match would exactly look like. We thought it could have a high aptitude, but it also could be clunky just given the styles of these guys. And I think both of them went in there and put in a great performance. The star of this match to me was Sho, though. Yeah,
I absolutely agree with you. And, a lot of times we talk about with Sonata, he kind of wrestles to the level of the guy he's in there with. And what we've seen with Sho in this tournament, he's really hungry. We saw the fight he brought to Shingo. And, I thought, Sho was definitely kind of the standout here and kind of overshadowed Sonata for me personally.
I think Sonata played his role perfectly in helping to make Sho look good. I'm not saying Sho on his own isn't great. He is. But I think Sonata had a lot to do with giving to Sho and making him look good, which is a hallmark of a great wrestler. But, man, Sho, we've talked in the past about people talking about his aptitude and how far he can go. And, there's a lot of people who think that he could be a major player in the heavyweight division in the future. And, the things we've always talked about being a big detriment to him is his height and the frame of his body. Even though he's jacked, he's not the biggest guy out there. But in these past 2 matches with Shingo and then now with Sonata, he's got so much star quality and so much fire that it just seems to me like he might even be able to overcome those 2 handicaps that we talked about and really actually be a big player down the line in this division.
Yeah. One thing I would like to kind of see in a lot of his matches, in this match too, he was working on the arm of Sonata, and we saw in Shingo he's working on the arm and goes for this arm bar, but he never really kind of wins with an arm submission. He always ends up winning with the shock arrow, stuffed pile driver. So in the future, I would like to see him kind of develop some kind of arm submission that is his secondary finisher that he actually wins off of from this arm work.
Jeremy, you knave. How could you not understand the story that they're telling here? He's weakening their arms so that he can put the shock arrow on, obviously. God.
My bad. I should have seen that.
It's because Sonata puts on the skull end and he's trying to take away his biggest weapon. God, it's like day one with you here today. I don't know what's going on.
Amateur hour over here.
Amateur hour. No, I agree. I think if you're going to work a body part, there should be some sort of aim for it. And, Daniel Bryan works the arm. Why? Because he's going to put on, the label lock. I mean, it would make sense for Show to have some sort of go-to submission of some sort,
Yeah, that actually wins matches. He does arm bar, he does Kimuras, but he never gets a win off of them.
I'll tell you who can win with an arm bar, Rocky Romero, like when he tapped out that Punk ELP last year in the Super Juniors. Hell yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, this was a pretty good match. I was like 3.5 on this.
Yeah, I'd go about the same. After that, we had a tag team match. Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Hiromu Takahashi defeated the team of Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, and Yota Tsuji. And I thought this match was pretty good. I like the teams that they have here. But the cool thing is, with Hiromu, he's got a match coming up against Ishii, and he just faced off against Toru Yano. So there's a little bit of that kind of element played into this match. And then the cool thing here was, earlier in the tournament, Shingo didn't want to, put the fist up with the rest of LIJ, but now he's out of the tournament. Everything's gravy. He's putting the fist up with Naito and Hiromu.
Yeah, he's like, my bad. I lost. We straight. But yeah, the funny thing about this matchup, Hiromu wanted to start with Ishii, but Yano wanted to start with Hiromu, but Hiromu wasn't having any of that. So that was kind of some callbacks to the previous tournament match and Hiromu trapping Yano in the elevator. So that was kind of funny until eventually we got to the moment where Ishii and Hiromu got in and got a little preview of the Night 7 matchup. But overall, a fun little tag match. It was a spot where Naito botched in the corner doing his little kick thing that he does, a little float over kick thing. This man was slipping out here.
No, see what happened was Tsuji had a corner man who was putting Vaseline on his chest in preparation for that. This is Greasegate Part 2. I've heard that the IWGP is actually looking into the allegations against Yota Tsuji regarding this.
Well, there's a lot of stuff they need to be looking into in these matches. So hopefully we see some success in this case against Tsuji. We can get some other cases looked at by these IWGP officials.
When I have my wrestling promotion, we're gonna do like how the UFC puts on the cornermen put the Vaseline on the fighters. That's what they're gonna do before they start wrestling. But it's gonna be officials from my company, so it won't be their actual like fight people. It'll be my guys, and they'll make sure it's done properly. Yeah.
So moving on to the next matchup here, we had a second round match between Taichi and Kota Ibushi. And they are both accompanied by their tag team partners, Taichi accompanied by Sabre, and Ibushi accompanied by Tanahashi.
Okay. So 18 minutes and 8 seconds. It's a pretty long time period, especially in the, empty arena era of New Japan. And I saw a lot of really high regards and reviews for this match. I gotta tell you, this didn't land with me, man. Am I missing something when it comes to these Taichi and Ibushi matches? Because I haven't liked any of them in the tournament.
So this is what I liked about this match. I liked the physicality and the brutality of when they were kicking each other. The parts where they were actually wrestling each other. But yeah, those kick exchange, that spot where they were exchanging kicks was awesome. I was into that part. The problem is all shenanigans that come around the action with Sabre getting involved, Tanahashi trying to fight off Sabre, then Taichi attacking Tanahashi, and ref bumps and all this stuff. And then, Taichi ends up getting the win, hitting Ibushi with the iron fingers. It's like all that shenanigans, all that stuff. It's like, man, like you can tell with them just wrestling and hitting the crap out of each other, like it was good until up until that part. But all the interference kind of got in the way of all that.
Yeah, and I see what they're doing. They're trying to elevate Taichi while also establishing that he's cheating to beat, top, ranked contenders like Tanahashi and Ibushi and everything. So I get it. I think there's a smarter way to do what they're doing. I also think that these matches are going a little too long, personally.
Yeah.
And in fact, I wanted to talk about that last week. We didn't really get a chance to discuss it. I think, generally speaking, the matches in New Japan might be going a little bit too long in this period of time. Now, I get why they do, because there's a hierarchy in New Japan. So, if someone loses but they went 5 minutes and lost versus, say, 15 minutes and lost or something like that, that's a big difference, because it kind of tells you how strong their fighting spirit is and how tough of a challenge it was and things of that nature. And I get that. But I think there needs to be some adjustments that are made, because some of these matches, in my opinion, are losing me in this tournament, even as enjoyable as the tournament has been, given the circumstances. I don't think this needed to go 18 minutes at all. And I think a lot of the matches in this tournament needed to be shortened up. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I definitely think overall, I'm sure if you average out the match times, I'm sure a lot of these matches, or the average would probably be in that 15 to 20 minute range, and I don't think they should have been all that long. A lot of these matches could have just been like 10 to 12 minutes, especially a match like Taichi and Ibushi, where there is going to be so much shenanigans, and the finish is going to come off of using the iron claws. It definitely could have gone shorter with this match.
And I'm not opposed to the way they're booking Taichi or the antics. I'm just opposed to the timing and the application that's being presented here. They're working the match as if it's in front of a crowd. And I know that works with some matches, like we talked about, Sho Shingo. That works regardless, either way. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this doesn't work so well in front of no crowd. So I did like some of the physicality, but I thought the match was a little slow. I think sometimes for some fans, it's sort of like whatever. For a lot of people, the way a match ends is sort of the last feeling they're left with, and so that's how they kind of grade. But for me, I try to take a more holistic approach, and I couldn't call this like personally, and I know a lot of people thought that was the match of the night for some reason. I didn't like it as much as, say, Sho Sonata, personally.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of focus in on the brutality. I mean, I was a little bit higher on this match. I was like in the 3.5 range with this match as well. And yeah, like the action, I really loved their kick exchange and the fire they had during those moments when they were exchanging strikes. But all the other shenanigans just kind of threw it off.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen that Taichi can do that. There's ample evidence from the previous year. And I'm not saying he needs to go out there and do that, because that's not the story they're trying to tell exclusively. But I would like to see more of it than what we're getting right now, because it's sort of like we're getting the old Taichi, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think that there could be a blending of the two. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I get it. Cheat. You need to cheat. But do it creatively. Do it entertainingly. Don't drag this thing out. And, entertain while you're wrestling. I mean, there's no one to get heat off of in the audience.
Right.
So yeah, that's my thoughts. But I think we're the ones who called last week that we thought Taichi, neither of us had it on our brackets, but once we kind of saw how the cards were laying out, it made all the sense in the world for him to go Taichi here.
Yeah. And one other positive I'll say about Taichi, man, his back suplexes have been nasty this whole tournament. He's given Jay White some competitions for, nastiest Saito suplex.
Yeah, I think he's had a really good one for a while now. I would agree.
So then we move on to the main event of the evening, which was Evil defeating Hiroki Goto, 18 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah, so I stand corrected here. I thought New Japan would go the tried and true method and go with Goto. They kind of threw a curveball to me. This was kind of what I feel like was at the time a toss-up, kind of like a 65, 45 type of situation. It could have gone either way. But, yeah, Evil pulling it out. I mean, were you surprised here? Or?
No, not really. I mean, Evil was the guy I had circled here. I was expecting Evil to beat Goto. I just figured you would need at least one LIJ versus LIJ matchup somewhere in this tournament with all these members being in it. But I wasn't expecting what we've been seeing from Evil, though, with all the kind of cheating and doing whatever it takes to win, which we really saw here in this match with Goto.
Yeah. Evil's first round match, I don't recall who it was against. Oh, it was Kojima, right?
Right, where he cheated. He had to use a chair on the strongest arm.
That's right. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, because we've covered a lot of matches here. So he did cheat in that match, and then in this match, if I recall, I remember there was a ref bump, but I mean, was there? And I know he used a chair on the outside, but was there any explicit cheating here aside from those two things?
Well, so the ref bump towards the finish, he stomped Goto in the crotch.
That's right. Okay, so not only was there a ref bump, but he took advantage and really, bent the rules, went outside, and kind of was, which I like that, because here's the thing. When you look at what LIJ is, a lot of fans today think LIJ are good guys. I don't think LIJ really are good guys, if you want my honest opinion. I think at this point in time, they've kind of been like tweeners, kind of remind me, I'm not saying in style or attitude, but they kind of fulfill a similar role to like what DX was in like summer of '98. Like, they're not good guys or bad guys. They're kind of in between. They're tweeners. Like, yeah, they're anti-heroes. But when you think about the history of LIJ and their roots and what Naito was when they first broke out in 2015, 2016, he was someone who was doing whatever it took to win his matches. And there was a lot of cheating, and there was a lot of, breaking the rules. And Evil's kind of doing that here in this tournament and kind of showing that he's willing to do whatever it takes to get what's in front of him.
And, I don't necessarily have a problem with that or Evil cheating, especially if he's, they're going for more of a heel Evil here. My problem with all the cheating is on a show where literally the match before it had a bunch of ref bumps and shenanigans and interference, and you follow that up with another match that has a lot of cheating and ref bumps and a screwy finish.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And this isn't even to really contradict you, but what I will say is, at least with this match, we got some really great action. It's kind of what I was talking about with Ibushi and Taichi. I wish Taichi and Ibushi had given a similar level of physicality and effort mixed in with the cheating. Whereas like Evil and Goto, we got a very high level of physicality. It was a good match. It just happened to have, more cheating in it and that sort of thing. And you're absolutely right. Like, it might not have been the best idea to have two matches back to back on the same night, having similar events take place.
Yeah, like if maybe another match had happened before where there was a clean finish, maybe I wouldn't have been quite as frustrated at the finish of this Evil Goto match. But I understand the story that they're telling and why that finish had to be done.
I think one thing, and this is the last thing I'll say here, some people felt like this might have been them trying to protect Goto. And I think the thing with Evil is they weren't we were listening to it in Japanese, so I don't even know if Kevin Kelly was picking up on this or pointing it out, but I didn't see a lot of chatter out there about people saying this is the story, Evil is being evil. I didn't really see that until till the third round. That's when I saw people start picking up on it. So I did see people being like, why are they doing this? Goto doesn't need to be protected. And it's like, they weren't protecting Goto, even though it does in a sense protect him, but that's more of a byproduct. The story is that Evil is being evil.
Right. And I was kind of in that frame of mind right after watching this match. I really hadn't pieced together that Evil was cheating so much in every match. And I was just frustrated. I was like, we've seen Evil beat Goto clean before. Goto's eaten plenty of pins before. Like, why does Evil need to cheat to beat Goto? But yeah, then you see the Sonata match and you think back to all the matches. You're like, oh, they're telling a story here.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't pick up on it either. So it wasn't like I was some sort of like brainiac who was picking up on it. I didn't notice it because it was kind of low key the way that they were doing it. And that's a good thing, because now we're able to look back and be like, oh, look how smart the booking of this company is. And that's something as a fan that you have to appreciate, because oftentimes we think we know everything that's going to happen, and clearly we don't.
Yeah, and we had a question here from @M_Chevalier on Twitter. Asks, which tournament has more ref bumps and cheating BS? New Japan Cup 2020 or Survivor Series 1998? #NJPW Deadly Game.
It's been a really long time since I watched that Deadly Games tournament, but I've got to imagine the Deadly Games tournament has more. But that's just because that's my bias. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been quite a minute since I've watched Deadly Games 98.
I don't even remember that being. I don't think it was a good tournament. It's one of those one night pay-per-view tournaments, and it's like 32 or 16 men or whatever. I remember the Rock and Mankind is a decent, finale, but I don't think the tournament's very good.
Yeah. All right, so now we're gonna move on to night 7, which kicked off with a banger in the quarterfinal.
Also, before we bring that up, I just want to say I was not happy that they had a single elimination tournament on Survivor Series. Give me the 5-on-5 elimination match. God.
Teams of 5 strive to survive, baby. Come on.
All right, so let's get into night 7.
So yeah, night 7 opened up with a banger in the quarterfinals. We had Hiromu Takahashi getting the big upset win over the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii, 19 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah, this was probably when the brackets were first dropped for the second iteration of the New Japan Cup this year. A lot of people had this like circled as like, if this goes right and this goes right and this goes right and this goes right, then maybe we might get Ishii and Hiromu. And thank God it all worked out exactly the way it needed to. And that's what we ended up with. And many people are calling this the match of the tournament. I'm even seeing people say it is a match of the year contender. I gotta tell you, Jeremy, I'm nowhere near that kind of hyperbolic praise right now, period. But I think it was one of the top matches of the tournament. Just fantastic.
Yeah, I absolutely love this match. I was literally standing up through the end of this match. Like, this match was just so great to me. I loved it. I was really high on this match. And, it's one of those things we talked about last week. It's like, we thought the more compelling option would be to have Hiromu to win. You get a fresh matchup with Hiromu and Okada in the next round. But it was one of those things like, well, it's New Japan, and typically in a big spot, the heavyweight's going to beat the junior, especially a guy like Ishii. And so when Hiromu hit that time bomb too and got the win, I was ecstatic and just couldn't believe they actually went with it and had Hiromu win.
Yeah. Fantastic match. It proves exactly what I've been saying for how many years have we been doing this show now? 3, almost?
Almost 3, yeah. In November,
yeah.
I think it'll be 3.
So I've been coming up in almost 3 years of telling you all that Ishii is a junior and we need him in this junior division. And this proved my point emphatically. This man put on a banger with Takahashi, put on a banger with Desperado. Can you imagine what this guy would do in the Super Junior tournament? Bro, Bandito and Tomohiro Ishii, come on. Like, my God. Dragon Lee, come on.
Oh, dude. Yes, give me that Dragon Lee Ishii match. Oh, my gosh.
Dragon Lee and ELP, sign me up. My God. Because he will murder ELP. But no, in all seriousness, though, this match was just really fantastic. Very high pace, hard hitting, excellent selling from both guys, crazy physicality. And one of the smartest things about it is that, I was watching this with my girlfriend, and these are 2 of her favorite guys in the promotion. And when Hiromu hit his first time bomb, and then Ishii kicked out, and then I think, did he hit him with the second one, and he kicked out again?
No, so I think a lot of people confuse this. So he hit the dynamite plunger first, then the time bomb one.
I am guilty of doing that, but that's not what I was doing here. I just couldn't recall if he did one of each or 2 of the time bomb. I just couldn't remember. But once he hit him with the dynamite plunger and then the time bomb and then Ishii kicked out, because she's so accustomed to Western wrestling, she's like, oh, Ishii is definitely winning now. And I knew, watching a lot of Puroresu, nah. But I still was like on the edge of my seat. I was like kind of pacing around the apartment because I was freaking out. And then when he put him up for the dynamite plunger or for the time bomb too, and then he dropped him, and I was just like, bow, he dropped him. I was like, oh my God, he beat him. She's like, there's no way. And then he did beat him, and she's like, oh, they made Ishii look strong because he kicked out of so many moves. And I was like, Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. That's exactly what they did here. And you notice Hiromu never kicked out of any brainbuster, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that, like, in the West, a lot of fans are predisposed to thinking that in order for a match to get to the next level and be a true classic, you need that Shawn Michaels Undertaker formula: finisher, kick out, finisher, kick out, finisher, kick out. And there's a time and place for that, and that's great. But not every match needs to be that way. And you can have a really high-level, compelling match without guys spamming their finishers, and that's New Japan's great at it. This is a prime example.
Yeah, and also the story here with Ishii being the quote-unquote heavyweight here, a lot of his strikes were more hard-hitting. His moves were, taking up more damage to Hiromu, and Hiromu literally had to throw everything he had at Ishii. He even hit Ishii with his own brainbuster to try and put him away.
That's right.
Yeah, dynamite plunger, time bomb one. He threw the D out there, that triangle choke. And then he finally had to pull out his super finisher, the time bomb 2, which he debuted at Wrestle Kingdom this year to defeat Will Ospreay. It took that to take out the Stone Pitbull.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, clearly Hiromu can go with the heavyweights, it's like, no. Because think of it from a kayfabe sense. Tomohiro Ishii is a very strong, very tough competitor for anybody on any given night, but he's one of the lower echelon, upper mid-card guys. You know what I mean? And Hiromu had to bust out everything that he had to put him away, which would tell you that 9 times out of 10, or like, if these guys fought 10 times, I don't know if Hiromu beats him 8 of those times, 7 of those times, 4 of those times. This seemed like this might be like the one time out of 10 that he could have hypothetically, quote unquote, beaten him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Ishii could very well, in the kayfabe sense, have beaten this guy maybe say 9 times out of 10 if he just got the brainbuster on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't like Ishii was pulling out all the stops to beat Takahashi, but Takahashi's pulling out all the stops. So it's like he got the win. It mattered. It counted. It's a big deal. But there's still a gap between the top level heavyweights and where Hiromu's at. Like, he's a threat, but he's not quite there yet. And so he's got a goal to kind of aim for. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think we'll see that in his next matchup when we get to that in a second. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. I was saying, I agree.
But yeah, so we have a question here from @Chris_Ertz on Twitter. It says, after seeing Hiromu almost kill himself taking that bump versus Ishii, is it unfortunately not a question of if, but when he'll break his neck again? And do you think he can alter his in-ring style to avoid an inevitable catastrophe? I genuinely fear for his life.
Well, here's what I'll say. Fearing for, Hiromu's life because of the way he wrestles isn't necessarily unwarranted. But because of the fact of his neck injury, I don't know if that is necessarily warranted. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know all the details about the surgery that he had and everything. They're kind of hush-hush. But from what I understand, this is just my understanding, it wasn't like he got a spinal stenosis the way that, say, like Edge and Stone Cold and Lita and all those, and like Kurt Angle got. You know what I mean?
Right.
From what I've heard, and maybe you know more about this, Jeremy, than I do, he's supposed to be 100% at this point and is no more at risk right now than he was prior to the injury. And I got to tell you, I think he has altered his style. I do think he's doing a lot of dangerous things safely. I'll add, I don't think I've cringed too much personally watching Hiromu. I mean, he hasn't had a lot of matches back, but I think he's been generally as safe as possible given the style of wrestling he does. I know what he's talking about. What he's talking about when he took a lariat, right?
Yeah, Ishii lariated him and he did a head bump.
It wasn't even really a head bump. He took a lariat and he was gonna do like the flip over sell, like a flip bump, and he just didn't get all of it. I mean, that could happen to anybody. That has nothing to do with his wrestling style. It just has more to. I mean, that it was a long match. It was a hard match. I'm sure he was probably gassed to some degree, and he just didn't get all of it. You know.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I do think if you watch this tournament particularly, like he has altered his style based before the injury. I don't think he's doing as crazy stuff as he was doing before the injury.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: wrestling's dangerous. So, I mean, could you fear for somebody's life because they wrestle a high octane style? Absolutely. But I mean, I haven't seen too many things where I'm thinking this is any more dangerous than anyone else that's out there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I've definitely seen him do way crazier things prior to the injury than he's doing right now. You know, the stuff he did in Mexico, the stuff he did in the Super Junior tournaments back in the day. He's not really he's claimed he hasn't altered his style, but I'll tell you right now, he absolutely has. Yeah. Absolutely he has. Like, he's doing generally pretty safe stuff. I think what's he doing that's so dangerous? He does a sunset dive to the outside. He does a senton off the top rope where he's got a guy spotting him. I don't know, man. It's wrestling. Everything they do is very dangerous.
Yeah. So any other final thoughts on Hiromu and Ishii?
I would have gone 4.5 on this one. I think one thing is a lot of people are saying like match of the year contender. And I'm like, I see what you're saying when you say match of the year, quote unquote contender, but for serious contention, there's no way. There's no way. When you consider like all the matches at Wrestle Kingdom and everything that happened at New Beginning prior to the to COVID, like there's nothing in this tournament that touches that stuff yet. Really great stuff in this tournament, but and this might be the best. I'll tell you personally, I didn't like this as much as Nagata Suzuki still. But that's my personal taste. I mean, if I wouldn't argue with you if you said this was better. But I see people throwing out 4 3/4, 5 stars, match of the year. And I'm not going to argue too hard on the 4 3/4 thing, but match of the year? There's no way.
Yeah, I was one of the 4 3/4 people. And like, I was like 4.5, and then Hiromu won. And I was like, screw it. Here's an extra quarter star.
Jeremy's like, I ain't no coward. I'm gonna throw a quarter on it. See, man. I would have gone a 4 3/4 if someone bled. If there's a blade, if someone juiced, then absolutely I'd go higher.
Should have been like our recommended match of the week last week.
But yeah, man, this was great. The only thing was this was such a high standard. I don't think the rest of the night could live up to it.
Right. So let's keep going on here. So next up, we had Evil defeating Yoshihashi in 2 minutes.
I loved it. I love this so much. Now, one thing we did not mention, and we needed to, Yoshihashi injured himself pretty bad in that match with Bushi. I remember what happened, sort of. It was a spot where he was coming out of he was running into the corner, and he came off the corner and like he twerked his knee, and it looked really bad, and it was not too far off from the end of the match. Do you recall exactly what happened?
I don't remember it spot for spot, but yeah, that was kind of the gist of what you just said.
When I saw the way he came down, I think he was supposed to come down on both his feet, and he came down on one of his knee, and his knee kind of bent, and it looked really nasty. And I was like, oh, he's hurt. But then he worked the rest of the match and finished. And I was like, oh, I guess he's fine. Yeah. And then he came out the next night. And so I hadn't looked into this, and I was not aware he was injured going into the match with Evil. But apparently he was, and they took full advantage of that because Evil beat the shit out of Yoshihashi and squashed him.
Yeah, this was a squash match. Beat him up, attacked the injured knee, locked in the Scorpion Death Lock, and got a submission win here.
And I think, did he not attack him before the bell with the chair?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Yeah, he attacked his knee with the chair.
Evil, putting people out, putting them out of the business, cheating, showing, ruthless aggression out here. My God. Yeah, it was pretty great. I like this side of Evil, and, I'm all for Yoshihashi. After he put in 2 mega strong performances, he gets squashed. Absolutely. I'm all for that.
Yeah, this was a pretty good squash here, and, in a way, quote unquote, good storytelling, obviously attacking the injured leg and getting the quick win.
Favorite squash in New Japan since Hiromu and Kushida. Not quite to that same level, but I mean, it's been a while. This one was good.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? No, sorry, take that back. favorite squash since Kushida got rolled up by Taguchi. Yeah.
Wasn't it like 30 seconds, something like that?
He beat him in like 12 seconds or some shit. It was something crazy.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so Evil moves on, and so we've got Hiromu moving on in the A block, Evil moving on the B block, and then we come upon our tag team match in the middle of the card. We got Naito, Shingo, and Bushi taking on Goto, Sho, and Yuya Uemura. 9 minutes 34 seconds. Fine match. Let me ask you, Jeremy, are you getting tired of these LIJ multi-man matches in the middle of the card?
Yeah, it's just kind of there. And on this show, we always kind of praise these LIJ multi-man matches. They're always pretty good, but I don't know. I'm just kind of like, it's just kind of there. Obviously, they're setting up Shingo and Sho for Dominion. They're getting some fuel to the fire there, but there's nothing really going on with the rest of the matchup there with the guys involved, and just kind of like, eh.
One thing I was kind of anticipating was that during these matches, they might involve potential challengers who were maybe on an off night. You know what I mean? So
right.
I know on this night you couldn't do that because everyone was involved, but on the other nights, we might see Okada and, Naito kind of jaw-jacking, or we might see some, kind of tension between Sonata and Naito, or Evil and Naito, or whatever. We haven't really gotten that. Like, Naito's just kind of been there, just being Naito, and these matches have all been about the other feuds and the stuff going on in the tournament, and like Naito's just the third guy.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. This was fine.
I will say, I thought Uemura looked really good, and he showed a lot of fire battling with Shingo, and I want to see a Shingo-Uemura singles match now.
Dude, we're at a point where, like, I know we always say stuff like this, and it's like hyperbole, but it's like, bro, who's the weak link right now in the Young Lions classes? I mean, you got Gabriel Kidd, you got Uemura, you got Tsuji, you got Narita, Coughlin, Connors. I mean, all of these guys are freaking incredible. Like, they're all studs. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, Bushi ended up getting the win. He does this cool kind of fireman carry code breaker thing onto Uemura to get the win. And then post-match, Shingo's holding up both the Never title and the Never six-man title, asking Sho which one does he want. Sho wants the Never title. Shingo tries to hit Sho with the title, but Sho ducked, clotheslined him, and got the advantage over Shingo.
Yeah, fuck you, Shingo. After that, we had a highly anticipated matchup here. Ace of the company, Kazuchika Okada, taking on the Bone Soldier, Taiji Ishimori. 16 minutes and 52 seconds.
Yeah, this match didn't quite live up to what I was hoping it could be.
Bro, just say it was a disappointment.
Yeah. Bro,
it was like a 3-star match, which is fine, but it's 16 minutes long. What's the rule, Jeremy?
If it's gonna be 3 stars, it has to be short.
Yeah, bro. If you're gonna have a 3-star match, you better keep it short. The longer that your 3-star match goes out, the worse it actually is. And I mean, they literally went 16:52. How the fuck did Taiji Ishimori and Gabriel Kidd have a better match than Kazuchika Okada and Taiji Ishimori?
I don't know, man. And like, I thought some of the wrestling, when they're actually wrestling each other, it was really good. But then once again, you had a lot of shenanigans and cheating. You had Gato coming out there with a nightstick or a pipe or whatever the heck he had to attack Okada. It's like, oh, here we go again. More cheating. And I get it. Ishimori's a heel. He's way smaller than Okada. He needed to cheat to get the advantage. But I just didn't think Ishimori was as dynamic as he normally was. And at the skill level of both of these guys, they had the ability to have a much better match than they did. And maybe part of that was not having a crowd there. But yeah, I was let down here.
I don't know what a part of it was. I think it could definitely be that there was no crowd. We talked about that earlier. And I think this is a key indication of that. Now, I know we're burying the match a little bit. Let me just be clear. It was not by any means a bad match. Technically, it was wrestled well. It just wasn't exciting, you know? And I never really bought into any idea that Okada was any sort of real trouble here, which makes sense from a kayfabe standpoint. I mean, Ishimori is one of the top competitors in the junior division, but he's also one of the smallest guys out there.
Yeah.
And that definitely plays a role in the booking of New Japan. I just kind of thought we'd see a story where he'd be utilizing his speed and his physical attributes to kind of befuddle Okada. I know he's the heel and needs to get heat, but there's a way they could have done that. Instead, he got a ton of heat on Okada throughout the match, if I recall correctly.
Right, and like you mentioned earlier, there's no crowd to get heat from.
Right, and again, you can do a heat segment. There's nothing wrong with doing a heat segment. It's fine. It's just the way you do it. This was actually somewhat reminiscent of what happened with Gato in the first round. Like, it wasn't quite that level, but it was just kind of there. And this was a match that a lot of people – I think what sucks about it, you know, we can come out here and complain all day about a match that doesn't deliver, that we might see, you know, once a year, once every couple years, you know. For instance, like Zack Sabre and Ibushi, for example. We can complain about that. That's fine. They didn't have the best outing. But we know they're going to wrestle a ton of times again. No big deal. But when you kind of have this one unique thing, I don't know if Okada and Ishimori will ever wrestle in a singles match ever again. Probably won't.
Yeah.
They probably never will. So it's like you have this really cool opportunity to do something really fun. I'm not saying this needed to be a match of the year or anything, but dude, come on. It just kind of was deflating for me. Yeah. And, you know, Okada won again.
LOL, Okada wins.
Yeah, and let's talk about the move that he's been using recently, this new submission hold.
The quote-unquote Cobra Clutch, not Cobra Clutch.
Yeah, so let's be very clear here. So a Cobra Clutch, how do I describe? So this is not a Cobra Clutch. It's similar to a Cobra Clutch, but it's not. It's almost literally, if you want to picture the Anaconda Vice, this is the Anaconda Vice, but instead of having the person laid on their back, you have them in a seated position. It's the same move as the Anaconda Vice. No one's saying it. I feel like I'm the only person that I know that has really made that observation, but I don't know have you noticed that, Jeremy? Think about it for a second. It is the Anaconda Vice.
We talked about this last week. Yeah, it looks very similar. It pretty much looks like the Anaconda Vice. I think initially what threw me off, I knew that he had been using the Cobra Clutch before, and I just saw him stop and hold on. I automatically assumed, all right, it's the Cobra Clutch. And it's not the traditional Sergeant Slaughter Cobra Clutch. I know some people are calling it an inverted Cobra Clutch. On the Milano commentary, they've been calling it a Cobra Clutch. The website called it a Cobra Clutch. Even Okada himself calls it a Cobra Clutch in the backstage promos.
Well, you know, that's not a bad idea to call it an inverted Cobra Clutch. I guess you could call it that, but it's not. I mean, a Cobra Clutch is basically a version of the Kata Hajime, which is a judo chokehold. It's a real thing. I remember watching Inception like a decade ago, and there's this scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, they're like floating around in midair, and he grabs this guy and he puts him in the Cobra Clutch and chokes him out. So, I mean, that's a real, actual, legit hold if you want to apply it correctly. This is also a legit hold if you want to apply it correctly, but it's not the same because he's not pulling the guy's arm across his throat and applying pressure to the carotid artery using his arm. He's actually taking the arm and throwing it backwards like a top wrist lock and then choking him with his shoulder. So it's not a Cobra Clutch. It's not the same move at all. I know it looks kind of similar, but they're not the same move unless you just want to call it a version of a Cobra Clutch.
Yeah. But
kind of like how you might call Shawn Michaels' version of a figure four, but it's clearly not a figure four.
Yeah.
You remember that shitty, weird, like side figure four he does?
Yeah.
It's not a figure four.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's my final thought I mean, I was disappointed here. Okada beat Ishimori. I think the big story here is Okada has not hit the Rainmaker on anybody in the tournament. He has choked everybody out with this new 100 billion yen dream, and he moves on to the semifinals.
Yeah, and in the backstage promos, he's pretty much been saying, he still believes in the Rainmaker, but he believes in his Cobra Clutch, and he wants to use that to get the victories here. So he says at the right time the Rainmaker will come out, but yeah, using this clutch submission hold here.
Hey, hats off to him. I remember 2 years ago when he started using the actual Cobra Clutch, and we waited for him. Remember he was busting that out just before his match with Naito at the Tokyo Dome, and then they had the match and he never used it.
Yeah, because the last Road to Tokyo Dome, he choked out Bushi right in front of Naito with it, and we're like, this is gonna be the big spot.
He was choking everybody out with it, and then he never used it, and then we were like. I remember I was like, I can see it now. He puts someone in the Cobra Clutch. They don't tap out. He spins them out. Rainmaker. And apparently no one got word back to him from us to them. Like, I guess our podcast wasn't big enough back then because we just started. But I wish someone would have told Naito he could have done that because we could have been seeing this Cobra Clutch for the last 3 years. I don't know.
Yeah. So now we move on to the main event here with Sonata defeating Taichi at 22 minutes and 50 seconds.
I did not like this match.
Yeah. This main event was pretty weak.
I wasn't surprised, but, you also think it's the main event. These guys are going to deliver. Not so much. And I was just thinking, like, my God, they're really going to put Sonata in, Osaka-jo Hall after this match with Taichi? I don't know, man. I mean, he had a cool match with Sho, but I mean, it's not like the Taguchi, Taichi, and Sho trio matches are really inspiring me to want to see Sonata and Naito at this point. So I was kind of like, this is kind of different. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, like we say with Sonata, he definitely wrestles to the level of the guy he's in there with. And in a way, Taichi's that way also. When Taichi's wrestling Ishii, like, he has to go. And so here, once again, we kind of see a lot of the shenanigans. He's using the tag rope for choking, a lot of cheating throughout the matchup here. And Sonata, once again, just not really emoting, not being frustrated with the cheating, just kind of, paint by the numbers Sonata match.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it all. 22 minutes and 50 seconds. This actually was probably one of the hardest shows for me to get through, to be honest with you. I mean, the first two matches were really cool. We had what might be the match of the tournament, cool squash. But then I was like, another LIJ, tag. Oh, this Okada Ishimori match, which I was excited for, didn't deliver. It was long. And then this match, I don't really recall that much from it. I just remember stuff happening, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah,
it was long. And I was like disappointed. And I mean, I know it's a little unprofessional for me. I feel like this is one of the few times I've ever been like flat out. This was a main event and I don't really recall that much from it. I can just tell you how I felt, and I didn't feel happy, and I was kind of bummed, honestly.
Yeah, at the end, you had the whole match, Kanemaru was on commentary. At the end, Kanemaru jumps off from the commentary desk and gets involved in the match. We had a ref bump. Taichi hit a low blow, but then Sonata shoved Taichi into Kanemaru, and then he did a O'Connor roll to get the win over Taichi.
Now that you say all of that, I recall it all. But like off the top of my head, and it's weird because I have such a good memory, and normally I can pull stuff off. And the funny thing is, like, Sonata hit him with the O'Connor roll. Great. We know that he can pin people with the O'Connor roll. We've seen it time and time again. But in this tournament, I think he beat Taguchi with that too, didn't he?
I think so. I think it was a roll up or something like that. Yeah.
Maybe I could be wrong, but it's like, did he really need to roll up Taichi? I mean, is that really going to hurt Taichi's chances in his tag team match with Zack Sabre Jr.? So, like, it's like they didn't want to undo the good faith, quote unquote, that they built with Taichi in this tournament. Little do they know. I mean, I don't know how fans over there feel about it, but over here it feels like, man, this is the thing I'm always talking about when I'm always like, Taichi has a great performance, builds up my, and then I'm like, all right, I'm not going to bet against this guy anymore. He finally won me over. And then he goes and undoes it. And then I'm like, I'm never going for this guy again. And then the next time he comes out, he puts in a fantastic performance. I'm like, oh, I was wrong. This guy, and it's so up and down. And
he's not consistent.
But he is consistent because it's all by design. It's not like he's missing the mark because he doesn't know what he's doing. This is on purpose. That's what makes it worse. He's intentionally shitty and then intentionally great. My God. But anyways, 22 minutes, 50 seconds, Sonata. Yeah, he had to overcome all the cheating with Kanemaru and Taichi. But then he just rolled him up, and it was kind of like, dude, he could have gotten an emphatic win to make him look strong going into the second night. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that.
And once again, I think the finish would have been a lot better with a crowd, because the crowd would have gasped that, oh my God, Taichi's going to cheat to win, and then they would have gasped because Sonata pulled it out and got the roll up and won.
I gasped when it was over. I was like, oh, finally, thank God. I saw him hit the I saw him hit that roll up, and I was like, fuck yeah, finally, let's move on.
Yeah.
So then that's it. That's the end of the night. Sonata cuts a promo, and we end up with our, semifinals going into night 8. We've got Evil and Sonata. LIJ member, LIJ powers collide. They explode. And then you've got Hiromu Takahashi taking on the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah. So let's talk about night 8 here. So opened up with Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and El Desperado defeating Yuji Nagata, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi, and Gabriel Kidd.
This was a cool match. The surprising thing is that Suzuki Gun did not jump the Hantai crew right at the get-go.
Right.
They did a few moves for a minute or two and then went to the outside and jumped them. So little different, but kind of the same.
Yeah. So Desperado ends up getting the win here with the Pinche Loco on Gabriel Kidd.
Yeah. There. And then again, same story we've been talking about. Dangerous Techers challenging the Golden Aces and yeah, it's the Golden Aces.
Yeah.
And at the end of the match, we just kind of had them jaw jacking. I think was Zack Sabre tying up Ibushi or something like that again.
Trying to remember here. Oh yeah, so Sabre put Ibushi in a triangle, and then Taichi and Tanahashi were facing off, and then Nagata came out to save Ibushi. The
whole time I was sitting there, I was like, dude, Tanahashi, get your boy. He's getting choked to death. What are you doing? It's been a weird build. Yeah. I mean, it's not weird because it's New Japan and this is just what they do with tag teams, but it's also been come on, guys, let's try a little.
So next we had another tag match: Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Sho defeating Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Bushi.
This was a tag team match that on paper looks very, very good. I love this chaos tag team that they got here, Goto, Ishii, and Sho. I mean, if I was going to put together a fantasy trio, that might be one of the more enticing ones. And they did a pretty good job here. And I kind of thought I don't even know who the 6-man tag team. Oh yeah, I guess it's Shingo and Bushi and Evil.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I was kind of man, maybe Goto, Ishii, and Sho could go after those belts later on. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be a cool trio.
Yeah, but anyways, I mean, this was a match. Obviously, Ishii and Shingo, or I'm sorry, Sho and Shingo. That's kind of the big thing, and that's kind of the big story here.
Yeah, Sho ends up getting the win over Bushi, hits the power breaker followed by the shocked arrow to get the pin, and then post-match, Sho hits Shingo with a spear and holds the Never title over a fallen Shingo.
What's the power breaker?
It's the Project Champa, the power bomb into the double knees.
Oh, okay, yeah, the move that You know what's funny is like in the mid 2000s, like when that move first came out in the Indies, that was like the most devastating like finisher, and everyone started doing it. And then now it's just kind of a move that everyone does.
Really? I don't see that many people doing it.
Really? I see people like maybe not a power bomb, but some variation of that. Something into knees.
Double
like they
knees,
throw them
yes.
up and then they
lung blower, code breaker variations. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like you see a variation of a guy getting thrown up going onto the double knees. Ishimori does a version of it, and like all over the Indies, it's like really popular.
Yeah. So then after that matchup, we had the big debut of Master Wato, formerly Hirai Kawato, returning from excursion, and we have a ton of questions about the debut.
We have so many questions about Hirai Kawato. We've been talking about, dude, when we first started this podcast, Hirai Kawato was still a young lion, and we used to talk about him all the time. No one wanted to talk about this dude. He makes one appearance, and we got like 15 questions. It's crazy.
Yeah, so let's start off with Reddit user Asayo Jimbo. He says, what do you guys think of Kawato's comeback and Doki's reaction?
I really don't know what to think about the comeback. It was underwhelming, and I'm kind of rooting for Doki.
Oh my gosh, dude. You're slowly becoming like Doki Mark.
Bro, he's like a Streets of Rage character. He comes out with this bent pipe and hits people. It's pretty cool. Like, I don't know.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I do think it was a very underwhelming debut, especially, like we mentioned last couple of weeks, when New Japan is debuting a guy and they're doing vignettes and they're doing weeks and weeks. Usually it ends up being a big debut and the guy gets launched into a big program. You look at Jon Moxley, Taiji Ishimori, Jay White, Hiromu, Evil. You look back to all these guys, they got these video packages and got brought back into big either stables, pushes, matches, ELP, all these guys. And so you expect, all right, we're kind of iffy on the vignettes as it is. And then he kind of comes out in the all blue and then he gets beat up by Doki, who's the low man Suzuki-gun, not even in the New Japan Cup. That's how low he is on the totem pole, and takes out Master Wato.
Master Wato. When I hear that, I think of like the guy like Wato from like Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the guy that knows.
Or like Master Roshi. I don't know. It's just, like, you want to come out and like you were a young lion and now you're a master? How you a master, bro? Like,
master of what?
Master of yeah, bro. What are you the master of? Like, God.
Master of who?
Master what?
It's a master of who?
Yeah. So Master Wato comes out, and the funny thing is like we didn't have Chris Charlton, but like I kind of am picking up some of these like Japanese phrases just from listening to Japanese wrestling, and he cut such a short promo. I pretty much translated it pretty accurately. Like, it wasn't 100%. I saw someone who put the actual like correct one out there, but like I'll tell you, my translations are a lot closer than the ones that Rich does on his videos. I'll tell you that much.
Oh my gosh.
But he came out. He struck a pose like he was Madonna, and then they got his ass beat, with Doki's bent pipe. Like, I don't know. I mean, I have some thoughts. Okay, so one thing, there's a part of me that thinks that maybe, just maybe, they actually have big plans for him, and this is a swerve. Similar to the initial setup for Okada, when Okada first made his return. Now, there's some people who say that was intentional. Some people say it wasn't. I kind of lean more towards the side that the way they portrayed Okada when he first came back was intentional. And maybe that's what they're doing here with Kawato. The other part is maybe they were not impressed with what happened down in Mexico. And this first feud is kind of showcasing that, yeah, we're going to go with you, but we don't, we're going to test you first. At the same time, if that's how you feel, why do all the build? Why do all the anticipation? Why do all the vignettes?
Right.
I don't know. We don't know all the insight of what's going on. I mean, maybe when they shot that video, they did have big plans, and then something happened. You never know the politics backstage. Maybe something happened, and then it caused them to lose faith, and like, all right, well, this is the way we're gonna shift. This is the way we're going. Also, maybe Doki's the only guy who wasn't in a program that they had on hand, to work with him, because everyone else has been in this tournament. Maybe that's the only thing that they thought they could feasibly do,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a lot of questions around this, and also more questions here. So Maserati says, is Master Wato a geek?
He looks like one, right?
And got jumped by Doki.
I mean, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about he looks like a geek right now. Like, I there's nothing inspiring. I think Yoshihashi looks cooler than Master Wato right now.
Man, that's rough.
Speaking of which, did you notice that during that match with Yoshihashi and Ibushi, that Yoshihashi kept looking when he was doing the butterfly lock or some chin hold, he just kept looking dead ass into the camera for like
yes.
for like mad long periods of time. Like, what was going on there?
Dude, I don't know. Next question here from Dub V Disney says, to Maserati's point, if Master Wato's floor is a first feud with Doki, what's his ceiling based on his first impressions?
I mean, his first. I don't know what his ceiling is, because you just never know how a guy is going to do coming back from excursion. That's all I can really say. I mean, hypothetically, it could be, all-time legend. I mean, I don't know at this point. It doesn't look good.
Yeah. The future, it's I don't know. It's definitely not quite as bright as we thought it would be.
It feels like the way they brought him back makes it feel like he's not getting that massive initial push, but that he's going to have to like claw his way up like a Hanare or like a Desperado or something like that,
Yeah. Next question here from Recent Maximum says, Master Wato going for the IC title first, or just skip the formalities and make him champ?
Champ of what?
Oh, man.
I would love for him to come out and actually cut a promo and tell us what exactly it is that he is a master of.
Yes.
I think that this is supposed to be like the way he looks with his like gear and then his facial impressions. I think they're trying to imply that he's like somehow a spoof on Ip Man. Have you ever seen the Ip Man movies?
The Hitman?
No, Ip Man.
No.
The Wing Chun, or does he do Wing Chun? Yeah, he does Wing Chun, I believe. He was like Bruce Lee's teacher back in the day.
Yeah, I haven't seen those movies.
Bro, you gotta at least watch the first Ip Man movie. That's what I think that they're playing off of, like Master Ip Man, Master Wato. That's what it looks like, anyways. But so I guess the way he's dressed looks like he's supposed to be like a kung fu master. But I'm not. I mean, we haven't seen him wrestle yet. Maybe he's gonna like introduce some sort of like cool ass like kung fu style into pro wrestling, like
some Wato fu.
Sort of like what AEW promised us when it came to OWE, and it just never happened. Remember when they cut that they did that press conference? Like, these guys are basically, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon meets Lucha, and you've never seen it before. And then I was like, yeah, we never did see it before, because company closed. There's no partnership. Those guys never came. What the fuck?
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what his wrestling style ends up being.
I hope it's like Glacier. Sure.
Oh my gosh, that'd be hilarious. Murray Bone asks, is Master Wato vs. Doki feud the next Liger vs. Sano?
That's my response.
Highest Fly Flow asks, is it wise for Wato's first match to be Doki? You would expect an impressive win over a big name, maybe somebody like Taiji.
I don't know, man. There's a lot going against them. I mean, with COVID, there's not a lot of talent on hand. I think they do want to kind of utilize Doki. He wasn't even in the tournament. This is probably some sort of reward for him, which is good. And he's going to lose, obviously. I don't imagine that, Master Wato is going to lose in his first match. But I think it kind of depends on what their trajectory is for him after the fact, And so we'll have to see. What if the match really delivers? It might. I don't know. It might not. I mean, I would imagine it's probably not going to be the greatest given where it's slotted in the in the card, but you just never know. So who knows?
Josh number 2 asks, after the Grandmaster presumably destroys Doki, where does he go next?
I don't know, to a stylist, get some new clothes, get some new gear, get his hair done better. Like, I don't know. I miss the old. I want someone to look at Hirai Kawato and be like, you've changed.
Yeah. I want somebody to have like the Wolverine meme where he's like crying like, with a picture with his hand on it. It's like a picture of like Kawato in a young lion gear.
But as far as realistically, what do you see next? I mean, he's going to beat Doki.
Right. So I'll say he's going to be a junior. So I'm guessing he's just going to be in that kind of, right now, kind of the low card junior mix and working his way up in the junior division.
Well, here's an interesting thought. We don't know if there's going to be a Super Juniors this year or not. But if there is, it's going to be fairly soon. If it does happen. If it doesn't happen, oh well. But if it does happen, then that would tell you a lot about what they think of him.
Yeah, I mean, he could be one of the bottom guys on the block, whatever block he's in.
I mean, if he's a parity-based guy and he gets 8-10 points or something like that and doesn't finish, then he's right there with your shows and your Desperados and guys like that. If he does worse than them, then he's with your Dokis and your lower end juniors.
Your Kanemaru's and your Gatos and Jados.
Yeah, and your Tiger Masks, guys like that. So that's something that I think would be very interesting. Now, the big thing is after we get through with this, we're going to go to the next big tour is what? The Summer Series?
Summer Struggle.
What an apt name. Because trust me, we here in Florida, this summer is going to be a struggle, bro. COVID cases are rising. We have the fucking stupidest governor of all time. Like, my God. Anyway, so yeah, it's Summer Struggle is right. I don't know, man. I mean, that would tell you if he has another feud coming up during Summer Struggle, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but there is going to be a G1 later in the year, and that's when a lot of the juniors are going to have to take a huge back seat, provided there's not a Super Juniors. So, I mean, let's imagine that there's just Summer Struggle, and then we go straight to a G1, and then that kind of closes out the year. We might not, really see a push for any big junior, including, Master Wato, until, the tail end of the year, until January. I mean,
yeah,
that's a real possibility.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man.
Next question here from Reddit user Lester Murphy 34 says, "Hope I'm not too late. I've only been watching NJPW for a little over a year, so I'm not sure how realistic this would be. What if the dorky look of Kawato is just a swerve, and Doki attacking him will lead to another side of the Grandmaster, a darker side? Is that something you could see Gato doing?"
Absolutely. I think that is similar to what they ended up doing with Okada when he first came in. If you watch his debut match against Yoshihashi at Wrestle Kingdom, he looks like an entirely different person, physically, visibly, aesthetically, in every capacity, versus how he looked at Invasion Attack when he wrestled, or it might have been New Beginning. I can't remember when he had that match, but when he wrestled Tanahashi, he literally was he looked like a geek, and he looked not self-assured. He looked like he was not ready. And no one was taking him seriously. And then when he wrestled Tanahashi, he looked poised. He looked like a superstar, and he ended Tanahashi's record-setting title reign. And the whole thing, a lot of people say it was all by design. It was a swerve. They made him look like a geek. They made him wrestle crappy so that when he went in with Tanahashi, he could be the prodigy and virtuoso that he actually is. And it was all an elaborate storyline. So I think that is completely a possibility, that some version of what you just kind of laid out could definitely be happening here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully that is the path, and we do see a more kind of a serious, kind of badass side of Master Wato. Next question from Imp Matthew Mary says, after that Kawato return, are we predicting an Okada or O-Khan-esque debut match?
Okada or O-Khan-esque debut match.
Yeah, so I guess kind of like you pointed out, the match with Yoshihashi was not that great. It was kind of goofy. It wasn't that good of a match, and the Great O-Khan didn't have that great of a debut match either. Oh, at least the gimmick was kind of weird in the debut. So,
are you talking about when he wrestled on those U.S. shows?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what was throwing me off. See, I don't count that as O-Khan's official debut because he hasn't really returned from excursion. You know what I mean?
He might not even be O-Khan when he comes back.
Right, because when Sho and Yo first came back, they wrestled some of the U.S. shows, and they were the Tempura Boys.
Right.
Which obviously is not the gimmick that they're working now. So, but yeah, I think that's absolutely a possibility. We just talked about it quite extensively. I think it could be similar to Okada. Now, here's the thing. If it ends up being a flop and it's not by design, it just flops because it happens to flop, then that's one thing. If it's something where I guess it really just all depends what kind of expectations he has for him, on himself as a performer, how the company is kind of viewing it, what expectations they have. I mean, I don't think we as fans really know what to expect here at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks here.
Are you excited about it, or are you kind of just put off based on the presentation?
I'm not excited. I'm not put off. I'm curious. I'm like, what is the match going to look like? Like, how's he going to wrestle? Because obviously, I didn't see much of his CMLL stuff when he was a young lion. He was doing the basic young lion stuff. So, like, what's his? Is he gonna do any lucha stuff? Is it gonna be like you mentioned, some kind of like martial, like he creates his own martial art kind of thing? Like, I have no idea. So I am curious, but I'm not really excited. But I mean, I just want to know what's all gonna look like.
I love in the '90s when guys would quote unquote create their own martial art, sort of like Rex Kwon Do from like
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. So I hope he like comes up with like Kawato, Kudo or something like that. Next question from Grunty Dodds. He says, in a week with several questionable fashion choices, I have several questions. Does New Japan Pro Wrestling have a wardrobe supervisor, or can the wrestlers wear whatever they want, unless it's Hitman cosplay? Ta-ting. I don't know. I don't know that they have a wardrobe designer, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I know there's Topla, I think is his name. He designs a lot of Purezu gear. But yeah, I don't know if there's a quote unquote official, like WWE has like their seamstress people. Like, I don't know if New Japan has that.
I think that you do have to. I think that you can't just go out there and wear anything you want. I think it does. I think there is some level of approval. I don't know how extensive that really actually is, but I don't. From what I've heard from a lot of the wrestlers is that things are kind of lax when it comes to this sort of thing. They get a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah.
Next question. I think he's talking about Carl Fredericks here. He says, a dangling earring seems like a recipe for disaster. How long before things get ripped out, either as a shoot or an angle?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about Carl Fredericks later on the show if the Lions break Collision. But yeah, I mean, the dangling earring, you can get some heat on that. You can get a heel, rip that thing out.
Shout out to my Rocky V fans, because it reminded me of Rocky V when his son decided to get a dangling earring. I don't know. I was kind of thinking, I was like, what is this man doing right now? I remember like cringing all the time when like CM Punk would wear like a lip ring,
Yeah.
And this man's got a dangling earring. Like, that's definitely going to get ripped out. It's not a good, I don't know. Last question. Does Doki wear those baggy pants because it's the only way to hide his massive amounts of pubic hair? If so, is there a website and promo code that he could use.
Well, Grunty Dots, I'm glad you asked. There is a website and a promo code that Doki could use. You can go to manscaped.com, put in the code SUPLEX, and get 20% off and free shipping of the Lawnmower 3.0. We've been telling you for weeks now how the Manscaped team has worked to perfect the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created with this new and improved Lawnmower 3.0.
I'm sorry, I have to kind of spoil Grunty Dodd's, opinion here. I happen to know that Doki, and I hate to put anyone's personal information out there, but I'm just going to spill the beans. Doki is an avid listener of this podcast and has already taken advantage of the Suplex promotional code. And from what I've heard, he is a creep in the streets, but he's well groomed in the sheets. Okay. So you don't have to worry about his pubic hair and those baggy pants. Those are a style choice. They are not, functional.
Yeah,
that's not what they're for.
Doki was tired of getting nicks and cuts, so he knew that young boy and I would not steer him wrong. He slapped in that Suplex promo code, and now he is nick-free, no more accidents.
Absolutely. So then, we spent so much time talking about Master Kawato. There was actually a few more matches on this card, night 8, and let's move on to the semifinal matchup here. We have Evil taking on Cold Skull Sonata.
Yeah, so the big, finally a LIJ versus LIJ matchup here, and here's where we kind of saw the master plan come with this whole, Evil cheating, and I think there's a lot of questions like, is he going to wrestle the same way when he's wrestling his tag team partner, his stablemate in Sonata? And yes, he Pillmanized this man, pulled out the chairs, cheated. He was evil here.
Well, let's be very clear. Evil, even though he's showing more of a mean streak in this tournament, that's, not debatable. It's absolutely a proven fact. He always tends to skew that way when he's in singles matches. If you look at his G1 runs, that's a key indicator of, how he kind of handles himself when it comes to singles matches. And he actually has wrestled Sonata twice in 2 previous G1s. They have a 1-1 record against one another going into this match. But in both of those matches, Evil employed outside tactics and use of chairs in his matches against Sonata, just as he's done against Naito and just as he's done against other guys from LIJ when needed. So it's not completely out of his wheelhouse to have done that, but he kind of put a little bit more stank on it, if you know what I mean, in this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of the big spot here. So the ref was down and Evil hit a low blow. He brought 2 chairs in. He did his baseball chair spot on Sonata. And then he went like he was going to do a Scorpion Deathlock, but instead hit him with another low blow. He revived the ref and hit the Everything is Evil STO 1, 2, 3. Evil beats Sonata.
I like the story they're telling here. I was genuinely shocked that Evil beat Sonata. I think that this was something that really broke a lot of brackets. I think a lot of people were counting on this sort of narrative that Sonata has gotten so far in the tournament every year, got to the finals last year, was one step away from actually getting to the finals again, and then eventually hypothetically winning it. He's not a champion. He's the one guy in LIJ who doesn't have a title. That resentment is kind of growing hypothetically. Now, these are things that we've all been saying. It's not things that are really on the surface of it's not like he's cutting promos and saying these things. Keep in mind, these are things that we as Western audience fans are sort of interjecting because we're sort of telling the story ourselves. But this is kind of what a lot of people, I think, Jeremy, you've said these things. I've said these things. I've seen a lot of fans online be like, this is where they're going. But I do recall times where other people have disagreed with us. People who asked us questions and they've said, I think they're going with Evil to be the kind of first guy who's kind of going to go against the grain within LIJ based on comments that he's made, based on some of his previous attitudes and actions. And we were like, nah, it's going to be Sonata. But then you look at the way the tournament played out, and I mean, we should have seen it because remember, I've been saying Sonata had a cakewalk. He's had no fiery matches. There's been no drive in any of this. He's just kind of been like sleepwalking through the tournament, picking up wins, rolling guys up. And then you look over at Evil, and it's like he's taking fuckers out. You know, he's bashing their knees in with chairs, and he's Pillmanizing people,
stomping
and it's like,
their crotches.
Yeah, bro. And it's like, how did we not see that this was happening?
It's Gato, man.
Bro, we suck. We call ourselves the Ace of Podcasts. We need to be the young lion of Ace of Podcasts because we don't know shit. Like Gato is taking us on an emotional roller coaster. Did anybody have Evil going to the finals in the bracket tournament that we've done?
Yes. So the one bracket that's been perfect this whole time has Evil and Okada in the finals.
There's a perfect bracket with Evil and Okada in the finals.
They ended up missing one match this week. So they had Taichi beating Sonata. That is literally the only match they got wrong. But they have Evil Okada finals.
Wow. Wow. Well, I won't ask you yet, but we'll talk about, what their prediction is for all this. But that's pretty amazing. So, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, it kind of makes sense now that everything is playing out, but it's also surprising to a certain degree. I mean, what are your thoughts here? Final thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, once again, I was very surprised that they went with Evil. Like you mentioned, we think back to the New Japan Cup kind of booking, and you would think it would make sense for Sonata. You think they would do Okada Sonata again and kind of tell that story of Sonata getting another big win over Okada. And I think a lot of people kind of went that way, and that's what we were going to get here. But yeah, very surprising that they went with Evil here. We're getting Evil Okada. And yeah, it's definitely threw us all off.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast recently. I don't recall if it was the NJPW official podcast or if it might have been Tama's Island. But they kind of discussed the dynamic between Evil and Sonata. And they said while they are both, tag team partners and they've shared a lot of success with one another, there's also that internal competition as far as where they stand in the pecking order of New Japan in the talent poll,
Yeah, I think it was Tama's Island.
And I thought they brought some really great points. It kind of reminded me of Tenzan and Kojima back in the early 2000s. Had a lot of success together, but eventually it led to them main eventing against one another for, both New Japan and All Japan's top titles. And, Evil Sonata, they're kind of on the same level. I think as of last year, the official word was that Sonata was more popular. But I mean, you look at the opportunities they've been given, major title shots, major headlining matches, big cards against top guys, Okada, Chris Jericho, things of that nature. And they've both done very well. They both sold a lot of tickets. They both shown that they can be proven draws when needed to be called upon. So it makes a lot of sense why they might go this direction at this point in time. And I think it's a smart idea. I will say, final thoughts, I didn't love this match. Again, 20 minutes, I thought it was a bit too long. But it's almost kind of overridden based on the surprise factor. I didn't expect Evil to win. And then you kind of have this really cool narrative going into the finals for Evil's trajectory all throughout the tournament. There's a story in place, which is nice. But in a vacuum, I didn't love the match, honestly. I thought it was fine, but it wasn't super compelling. Evil did what needed to be done to get to the next step.
Yeah, this match was definitely more about the story about Evil than having a match quality, a banger. So
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's what they wanted to do. That's what they did. We got a lot of questions about this too, which is surprising.
Yeah. So first question from Reddit user Rambo and Slam Pig. Given the events of the last round of the New Japan Cup, where do you see the partnership between Evil and Sonata? Are they done? Is one heading away from LIJ, or is this just a bump on the road they will get over?
Yes, and yes. I don't know. I don't know that they're done, but they might be done for now. It doesn't mean they're done forever, right. Or they could be fine. They could be fine after this.
And we did hear rumors at the beginning of the year that there were plans to split off one of these guys from LIJ. So maybe this is what we're seeing here, and maybe this is Evil kind of splitting off. And I think last week we mentioned like it would be kind of weird if Sonata had kind of just split off amicably, and with LIJ being, I know they're kind of tweeners, but they lean a little bit more to the babyface side, and so he would need to get kicked out or something instead of just kind of leaving. So it makes sense of Evil kind of going against the grain and being the one that's kind of effect here.
One thing we don't always emphasize enough, and this is important, Evil is a dojo boy. Sonata is a freelancer. Who are you going to give a faction to?
The dojo boy.
I rest my case. So it makes a lot of sense. Hypothetically, if they're going to split these guys off, maybe you do go with Evil. He's a fantastic promo. He's a good wrestler. He's charismatic. He can work his gimmick. Who knows what the next iteration or next step is for him? You know what I mean? Like this could be very exciting hypothetically. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe this is just the seeds for something that's coming up in the future. Maybe they're making some drastic changes. I don't know. I can't wait to see. But like I said, this kind of reminds me in several ways of the Tenkozy split that happened, and those guys ended up working together down the road later again. You know what I mean? So
right.
It could end up being that way for Evil and Sonata. And with their trajectories, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, I'm not going to overstate it and be like, I could see these guys doing Wrestle Kingdoms and selling out the Tokyo Dome. No, but could they maybe one day do like a King of Pro Wrestling? Yeah, or a Destruction Tour, Dantaku? Yeah, why not? I mean, I think they both are at the point where they are ready for the next level, whatever that is.
Yeah. Similar question from Impair. Do you think we'll see any friction grow between Evil and Sonata over the course of the next year or so? Personal agenda on that one, I'd love to see a costume consumed by the darkness Evil run.
Like a Lord of Darkness Evil, but like mixed in with like Ministry of Darkness, like Undertaker. Yeah, that'd be a different way to go with things in New Japan.
Ministry of Darkness.
Yeah, it is funny. Evil is one of those guys who kind of like borders on the whole sports entertainment / sports presentation of New Japan. He's kind of like on the outskirts of those things. He's like one of the few guys that's like kind of far on the sports entertainment side of things,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what's going to happen. I think that's kind of the cool thing here is like, this was a tournament. We kind of thought we knew what was going to happen. We clearly didn't. And that's great because a lot of people didn't know, and it's kind of been exciting in that sense. And that's something that Gato's really good at, is keeping people on their toes and keeping them guessing. And, this literally could just be a challenge between stablemates, nothing more, nothing less. And if that is the case, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's the wrong way to go. I think they should have something come out of it, whatever it may be, whether it's now or later. But yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of creating a faction, next question here from Reddit user Viking Pain says, with Evil becoming more evil in this tournament, if he leaves LIJ and creates his own faction, who would you guys put in it?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, people always want us to create factions, man. Why do we always get faction questions?
People love the factions, man.
See, here's the thing is like, is Evil going to stay evil? Or maybe he goes really evil,
Mm-hmm.
Or I can see it go, here's my thing. It needs to go one of two ways. Either he stays evil and goes really, really evil, or he goes in a totally different character direction. Like, fuck this, I'm not playing anymore. Fuck these toy scythes. Fuck, I'm not playing. Like, this is for real. And then he gets like shooty,
Japanese badass evil.
Yeah, Japanese badass evil.
Come down on a bike.
I don't know. He needs to do something, but one or the other. So I mean, I don't know what kind of faction I would want to build around him, though. Oka might be a great guy to come and bring into a faction with him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But then you got two beefy boys there. I mean, who else are we gonna add to this thing? We need
Could you put Master Wato in there?
I mean, you could, but I don't know if I'd put 2 young lions in there with him unless you just want to like build young lions around him. You could do something like that.
Yeah.
Who would you put? I don't know.
I'm trying to think because I feel like everybody's such a good fit where they're at right now.
Well, I mean, there's one aimless guy that you could always throw in there. It's Toa Hinare.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But then you've got him, Oka, Evil. I mean, that's a pretty beefy group right there. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe those 3 guys could just start out as a trio.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So maybe we do that. Oka and Evil and Toa Hinare, and they run roughshod over people.
Destroy LIJ every night.
Yeah. Why not?
Next question here from Ben Kaminsky on Twitter says, do you think Evil has been watching too many Tai Chi matches? My boy keeps on cheating to win against his own stablemate, and he tried to break his neck with a chair twice. LOL.
Well, I mean, that's just smart. You know, you got this. There's a reason they say this isn't ballerina.
Got to win at all costs.
Or this isn't ballet.
Yeah.
You know, ballerina. Yeah, man. I mean, I personally, I like it when wrestlers want to put other wrestlers out of the sport forever. That's one of my favorite things. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to put you out of the sport forever. That's what Evil's been saying about people.
Yeah.
I've been listening to any of the backstage promos, but I just imagine that's what he's saying. It's like, Sonata, when we go out there, I'm putting you out forever.
But I mean, he has been saying, he wants to do whatever it takes to win. So, and that's exactly what he's been doing in this tournament.
The difference between what he does and Tai Chi is Tai Chi does dick moves. Like, he grabs a hammer, and instead of hitting you with the mallet part, he hits you with, like, the handle. Or he grabs, like, a rope, and he chokes you in a way where the ref can't see it. It's more like sniveling heel sort of stuff. Evil's more, like, vicious and violent. He's targeting body parts and trying to put people out. I like it.
Next question here from Kyle Martin, Wrestling Squared Circle. He says, I personally thought the New Japan Cup would be conceptually based around LIJ falling apart with a member winning and challenging the champion. I don't see that happening now, but is this the beginning of the end of LIJ?
I don't think it's the beginning of the end of LIJ because the issue regarding that, and we've talked about it a lot, LIJ is the highest selling merch, the highest merch selling group in all of New Japan Pro Wrestling. For that reason, they can't get rid of the brand, just like they can't get rid of Bullet Club. Like, there's just too much money, invested into it. But I think this could be the start of people branching off. We've talked about it in the past. There's too much star power. There's too many guys that aspire for more, and you just can't keep them all in the same place forever. That just stagnates things. So, yeah, I do think this is the beginning, and it might actually be the culmination of guys splitting off. I mean, look how strong LIJ is in this tournament. They've got the trios titles, the Never title, the freaking IC, and the junior title, and the IWGP title. Like, holy crap. And 3 of the 4 finalists were LIJ members, and Naito's defending against one of, this is the strongest LIJ has ever been at this point in time, which means it's probably the correct period to start making some changes, breaking things off.
Yeah, totally agree with you. LIJ will keep going on. This might be the end of Evil in LIJ.
And it might not be the end of Evil. Who knows? Maybe Evil goes out there. You think he's really, really, really evil. He tries all his evil crap against Naito. He can't put him away. And they come to respect one another at the end of the match. And then Swerve, Bushi, takes them both out. And he starts his own group called Bushi Squad. And away we go.
You should call it Bushi's Road.
So yeah, I mean, we don't know which way it's going, and that's the cool thing. Like, we could try to sit here and predict all day, but the best things that happen in New Japan are things where you just can't see it coming. Like, the Golden Lovers reuniting, or things like that. Like, this is another one of those things. It's really great.
And then last question here from our buddy Rich Latta. He says, "Does Evil suck?" I asked because I can't think of a situation that would be better by adding Evil to it.
All right. Well, this is just what I'll say. I've been very vocal over the years, and Jeremy, you can attest to this. I don't really like Evil, do I?
No.
I am pretty critical of Evil. I think he's fine in the ring, but I'm not a big fan of his. Matches that a lot of other people liked, like his match with Ibushi in last year's G1, his match with Elgin the year before in the G1, I wasn't a big fan of him. I'm not even that big of a fan of LIJ as a tag team. I think I like Sonata a lot better, but Evil doesn't suck. And in fact, the reality is we put out a poll this week and we asked like who you'd rather see win the the New Japan Cup this year, Evil or Okada, and overwhelmingly Evil won. And we're 1 year removed from the G1 press conference that we attended last year. And I know that was just a microcosm of fans, but you're talking about the hardest of hardcore fans that were there. And I think Evil might have legitimately had the loudest pop of anybody in the entire room when he came out. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're absolutely correct. Evil was, because I remember we looked at each other. We're like,
bro, we were shook.
We're like, was that a Road Warrior pop for Evil?
Bro, and like Sonata was not far behind. They were literally bro. Will Ospreay? No. Like Zack Sabre Jr.? No. Jay White? No. Guys that you would think are big Western stars, quote unquote, because they're Gaijin. Nah, bro. LIJ is so fucking over. It's kind of crazy. And like when we were there live and Evil came out for his match, I think he wrestled Balak Fale.
Yeah.
Bro, the crowd went crazy when Evil came out. And he's sold out buildings with guys. He sold out building with Kenny Omega. He sold out building with Okada. He sold out building with Chris Jericho. Like, I know that I know that there is a certain spectrum of fans that don't necessarily like Evil. And again, I'm one of them. I'm not a big fan of Evil. I like his character, but I don't love his wrestling matches. It's just not for me. But I have to tell you, if you think he sucks or you don't realize that he is literally one of the most popular guys in the company, you are out of touch with what's going on, because I think that's why they're giving him this opportunity, because he's one of the most over guys in the company.
Right. And I will say, like, again, I like the Evil. I like his character. I like his promo work. It pops me every time he thinks he's a rock and he's smelling the air and stuff like that. When it comes to his matches, I think when he's in there with the right opponent in the right match layout, I think he can deliver. You take away the shenanigans, you give him an Ishii, you give him a Goto, you give him an Okada, you give him somebody that's really going to push him. I think he can have good matches. Now, is he going to be the guy you depend on to have good matches and push other people? No. But I understand what they're doing here. Again, like you're mentioning, he's not going to rack up the star ratings here, but he's popular, good promo, good look, dojo boy. I totally understand what they're doing here.
That's a big part of it. Guys that come through the dojo system, when they're tried and proven, and they stick around and they're loyal, they work hard, and they deliver, they're going to get big opportunities. And at some point, I know a lot of people don't think this, but think about the origins of LIJ. Like the first two guys actually were Naito and then Evil. Evil's like literally the second-hand guy in LIJ. I know that other people at this point, maybe if like you're a newer fan, you think, oh, Hiromu's a big star, Shingo's a big star, but it's like those are the last two guys to get added. The first guy was Evil. So it makes all the sense in the world that he would be the guy to split off and do his own thing at some point, or, get the first title challenge, because he's the second. He really is the second in command in LIJ, period.
Yeah.
He is higher ranking than everybody else.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have one last matchup here to talk about, and that's Kazuchika Okada defeating Hiromu Takahashi 27 minutes in the main event of this show here.
Very surprising. No questions about what I thought was a fantastic main event.
Yeah, I love this match, and the thing I just loved about Hiromu in this tournament is he's kind of been forced to wrestle different styles. Wrestling with Yano, he's wrestling this comedy match. He's wrestling Ishii. He has to wrestle like almost a never style match. And now he's wrestling Okada, and he's kind of forced to wrestle Okada's, classic 30-minute main event style. And I thought he did an excellent job doing it.
Yeah. Even in the beginning, you talked about earlier how Okada has the big match style of New Japan. It starts slow. There's a lot of teasing, feeling out. And the funny thing was during all that, like Hiromu was just popping me by doing like little entertaining things. He's like, "Come on, Okada." And it was just funny. Like Hiromu's way smaller than Okada, but because of his like personality and his presence, he's like larger than life. Like it didn't feel in any way out of place for him to be wrestling Kazuchika Okada, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
I love the match. I thought that I do think, again, and I'm going to say it again, 27 minutes was too long. Now, I kind of forgive it a little bit because they were giving a big opportunity and a big push to Hiromu in this match. So you kind of forgive it a little bit. But, man, again, as good as this match was, 27 minutes in an empty arena is kind of rough, especially with this particular style of match. That being said, I thought it was as good as it possibly could have been given the circumstances. And I thought Hiromu really delivered. I thought Okada did a fantastic job with him. This is a match I would love to see again in front of an actual crowd. Hiromu, heavyweight down the line, yay or nay? Or, do you see him as more like the Liger, like a guy who, can kind of like make trips up there but needs to stay a junior?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I would say as of right now, just looking at the landscape of the junior division, I feel like he kind of needs to stay there and elevate the division. There's not really, they already lost Ospreay, they lost Shingo. There's not a lot of stars. There's a lot of great wrestlers, but not a lot of stars in that division. So I think right now the junior division really needs him. I think once they develop some more guys, then there's a possibility that you move him up to heavyweight, or maybe you have him kind of float in this open weight kind of spectrum. But yeah, I think for right now he needs to be a junior.
I've seen some people talk about how the booking philosophies of New Japan are changed irreparably forever, and that this is a changing of the guard because of the big wins that they've given to Hiromu and guys like Ishimori and things of that nature. And I got to tell you, I don't think that, and Show as well, I don't think that is the case, but I thought that this was exciting what they've done all throughout the tournament. And I was just holding out hope like that Hiromu would beat Okada. Because I was like, I had Hiromu winning the tournament. And I was like, he has to beat Okada to win the tournament. And so just out of my own selfishness, I was like, God, I knew he wasn't going to beat Okada, but I wanted so desperately for him to beat Okada here. And it just didn't happen. Jeremy, take us what happened here when what your thoughts were.
Yeah, so I love the closing stretch of this match here. Hiromu goes for the time bomb 2, which he beat Ishii with, but Okada blocked it. He had a spinning tombstone. Then he goes for his inverted Cobra Clutch again. Hiromu slides out. Okada hits a Rainmaker, goes back to the clutch. He was getting frustrated that Hiromu wasn't tapping. He let go of the hold. He hit 2 more Rainmakers, locked the clutch in again, and then Red Shoes Uno stopped the match, so Okada wins by ref stoppage. So Hiromu did not tap out. He didn't give up. He was literally, forced unconscious for Okada to get the win here.
Yeah, he didn't tap out, which is a big deal. It showed his toughness and determination. And the big thing there, though, is that when he hit him with that Rainmaker, neither of those were true proper Rainmakers. They were like the spinning variant and, the standing variant. Like he never actually hit the ripcord and like completely, hit him with that, which was a little surprising. But, all throughout the tournament, we didn't see him doing any Rainmakers to anybody. And the whole story with Okada in this tournament was just the fact that he had to put those guys in that head arm triangle choke time and time and time again. And then finally against Hiromu, who was unable to, put him away with it the first time, he got out of it. And then he had to hit him with those Rainmakers. And then finally he hit him he put him in the head arm triangle choke, and he was able to put him away, but Hiromu didn't tap, so he kind of gets that Stone Cold Steve Austin WrestleMania 13 clout and saying that, like, I didn't tap out, I was passed out.
Exactly. And so, yeah, he can always kind of hang his hat on that. And again, that kind of protects Hiromu in a way. And it makes Hiromu look strong. It's like he wasn't defeated. He was defeated, but he wasn't, submitted, and he wasn't pinned. So yeah, it opens the door for maybe a potential rematch down the line if you are going to have him go to heavyweight at some point and he's going to wrestle Okada down the line. So it could be interesting.
Yeah. I don't think from a booking perspective they ever planned for him to actually beat Okada, obviously. But they did the biggest favor they possibly could in having him go a good length of time, being very competitive, give people the perception that he pushed Okada to his limits and was basically put out via a TKO versus actually being pinned or submitted, which, I don't know. In real life, if you think about it, a TKO is not good. I mean, you literally were put completely out. There's no, in a real fight, there's no more emphatic way to beat somebody. But for some reason in pro wrestling, because it's seen as a badge of courage, it's like protecting the guy somehow.
Yeah.
It's weird that way.
All right, well, that is the last match that we had to review, so now we can jump into our previews real quick. So, New Japan Cup Finals happening on July 11th. So, we have a full card for this show. So, opening match, we got Tomioka Hanma and Togi Makabe, Great Bash Heel, taking on the Young Lion team of Yu Uemura and Yota Tsuji.
We're going to see Great Bash Heel teaming together once again. It seems like it's kind of been a while going up against the Young Lions here. Obviously, I think that Great Bash Heel is going to pick up the win, but, it's kind of like seeing the dads against the Young Lions, which is always a good thing here. And Uemura and Tsuji both have looked extremely impressive during this New Japan Cup tour, and we kind of get to see the culmination of that in an opening tag team match here. And I'm at this point, I'm just so excited to see whatever Uemura and Tsuji do that I don't really care that it's against, an aging Makabe or an aging Hanma. Like, this should be pretty good.
Yeah, it should be a fun opening matchup here. Yeah, Hanma and Makabe should be getting the win here.
So after that, we've got Tenkozy taking on Gabriel Kidd, teaming up with Hiroki Goto. Again, similar situation. We've got, established tag team in Tenkozy. And then you've got Goto teaming with the Young Lion. So I think we kind of know what's happening here.
Yeah, Gabriel Kidd is going to eat a Koji cutter and a lariat. 1, 2, 3. Tenkozy is going to get the win here.
Yeah, now here's the only thing. On a normal New Japan Cup final, these are the kind of matches you would expect. So perfect, fine. Nothing wrong with that. In front of we're at 1/3 capacity, aren't we?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so we'll be at Osaka Joe Hall.
Okay, so I was about to bring up, I was like, I don't know how these types of matches are going to play out in front of no crowd. They better keep them super short. And you know what? It might still benefit them in front of a 1/3 capacity crowd to keep it fairly short, because from what I understand with the guidelines, people are going to be very spaced out. I don't know what the sound is going to be like in front of that sort of audience. I'm sure it's going to be better than, say, like the PC. But, I mean, they do usually keep these pretty short, but sometimes they'll give them some time, 10 minutes, 11 minutes. They might want to go the shortest, keep them sub 10 is what I'd say, because I don't know how these are going to play out.
Yeah. So the next matchup, we have the debut match for Master Wato as he takes on Doki.
So this is the one we got a lot of questions about. We've spoken quite a bit about it. I think we expect anyways that Hiroki Wato will pick up the win here. I think one thing that's interesting, and we didn't really talk about it, it makes a lot of sense why it's Doki attacking him. And if you think about Kawato, he's coming from his excursion where? In Mexico, CMLL. And Doki has talked about in the past how he doesn't work for those companies, doesn't work for AAA, doesn't work for CMLL. He is a Japanese wrestler who spent the majority of his career working the independent circuits in Mexico, and he has a chip on his shoulder about guys like, Sho and Yo and Desperado and Bushi and people who come to Japan who spent a small fraction of their time in Mexico and then basically culturally appropriate the Lucha Libre style and try to claim it for their own. It reminds me of that scene in Dark Knight Rises when Batman is fighting Bane, and Bane's like, "Oh, you've merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it, shaped by it." Like Doki's like Bane. He's like, "I was born in the Lucha Libre. I was shaped by it. He's telling Master Wato, he's like, "You've merely adopted it." So I think like it fits his whole, story in that like he is resentful of these kids who came up through this fancy dojo system, got an opportunity to work at big companies on a 1 to 2 year excursion, and then they get to come back with open arms. And like Doki never got that. Like he's a old vet who's just now getting his big break in New Japan. Makes all the sense in the world why he'd want to attack a kid like Doki,
Right.
Or a kid like Wato.
Right. Yeah, he calls them hipster luchadors. And so, yeah, that's his big reason for attacking Kawato, or Master Wato, excuse me. And yeah, so a lot of the frustration coming there. And so, yeah, so it makes total sense. But at the same time, it's kind of the low card Doki. So, yeah, expecting Wato to get the win here. I'll be very surprised if he loses to Doki.
I just want to make a correction here. You apologized for calling him Kawato. Let me be clear. Jeremy, you have the permission of this podcast to call him Kawato as long as you want until he proves to us what exactly it is that he is the master of. Once we know what this man is a master of, then we will show him the reverence that he is and the respect that he deserves. Until that time, he is Kawato. I don't care.
Oh, my gosh. So what's the next matchup we got here?
So we've got Bushi and Sonata, two losers who got eliminated from the New Japan Cup, taking on two other losers from the New Japan Cup in Taiji Ishimori and Yujiro Takahashi.
Yeah, should be a fun little match here. Not expecting
2 3/4.
Yeah. Yeah, not expecting much here. I'm gonna go with LIJ, probably Sonata getting the win over Yujiro.
Yeah, I mean, this is something you see oftentimes at the end of tournaments. This kind of feels more like a like a post World Tag League type of, like World Tag League final sort of tag match. Like there's no real stakes for it. It's just a consolation match. That's what this feels like. I mean, what's the heat between Bushi, Sonata, Ishimori, and Yujiro? I mean, there is none. It's just interfactional warfare. So it's just kind of taking up space. It should be fine. Yeah. I don't know who you got here.
I got Sonata going over Yujiro.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although Bushi could always lose to Taiji, it's possible.
Yeah.
You got two pin eaters there. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I'll ride with you. I got LIJ. Sonata's going to win.
So next up, we have Ryusuke Taguchi and Yuji Nagata taking on El Desperado and Minoru Suzuki.
Now, this one makes a little more sense because although, again, it's a consolation match, Nagata and Suzuki was freaking fire during the first round of this tournament.
And I've noticed that they've been paired off ever since that match in multi-man tags when they're on the card. So part of me is kind of hoping we get a singles rematch at Dominion.
I hope we get like a year-long feud between Nagata and Suzuki, and then when Nagata and Suzuki go to wrestle each other, Nagata gets seconded by Jushin Thunder Liger. And it just is, it's like this is basically, this is New Japan's version of Triple H, Shawn, and Taker, basically. But this is a tag match I'm actually looking forward to because I actually like Taguchi a lot. I like Desperado a lot, and I can't wait to see Suzuki and Nagata go at it. So hell yeah.
Yeah, it should be a good tag match.
Also, I'm pretty sure Suzuki's going to win here. I see Taguchi getting beat.
Yeah, gotcha pile driver all day.
Yeah.
So what we got next?
We have the team of Sho, Toru Yano, and Tomohiro Ishii taking on the team of Hiromu, Shingo, and Naito.
Yeah, so once again, this is mainly previewing the show, and Shingo Never Openweight title match will be happening the next night at Dominion. Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to be very similar to all the LIJ tags we've seen on this tournament, with the focus being on Sho and Shingo.
The thing is, usually we criticize New Japan for not doing a great job building up title matches. Oh, they should have done more, yada, yada. Sho, Shingo, they did enough years in advance to where they've built up enough good faith between those two guys. All they needed to do was, after that one match in the first round, they didn't need to do much more. Like, they've been doing a good job, but it's fine. Like, this match, again, you're right. It's about Sho and Shingo, but they've already built up so much equity that I could care less. I'm ready for it. You're ready for it. Everybody's ready for it. This thing's been going on for years now. What I want to know, why the heck is Naito in a multi-man tag match literally right before the Okada Evil finals? And how is any of this six-man tag going to play into his upcoming challenge? Because it doesn't feel like it will at all.
I don't think it does at all.
And that's not really a good idea, in my opinion. Like, I get why it's second from the top, but I kind of feel like Naito needs to, I'm sure he'll come out regardless of who wins, whether it's Okada or Evil. Hopefully, you would hope so.
Right.
But it's sort of like, why is he wrestling right before that?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like Sonata should be in this match more so than, say, Hiromu. I don't know. I think you could have put Hiromu and Bushi in that match lower and had Sonata in here, and maybe there could have been some tension between. Somehow they could, play it into the whole story with Evil. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overanalyzing.
I guess I just want to run back the Ishii Hiromu interaction, I guess.
Hey, I'm all for that. I don't want to try and make the match crappier, but I don't know. I'm just wondering. I mean, there are some people who are listening who are like, "You're spending too much time on Naito. Like, let's get this bum out of here." They're praying that on the 12th he loses.
Yeah. So, New Japan Cup Finals main event: Kazuchika Okada versus Evil. What do you think? Who's taking the big win here? Who's winning the New Japan Cup?
I am seeing a lot of fans online. I am part of many, many, many New Japan and Pro Wrestling groups online. I don't even really contribute much to them. I just kind of observe silently. And I've seen a lot of people think Okada's winning this thing, like a large percentage. But then on, say, Twitter, with the kind of internet bubble that we operate in, it is a heavily overwhelming idea that Evil's winning. I think Evil's winning here, mainly for this reason. And here are the reasons I think that it's happening. Okada just wrestled Naito in January. I don't think Okada should lose back-to-back to Naito, and I don't think Naito should be taking a loss to Okada at this point either. Neither of those scenarios really make a lot of sense to me, given their long history with one another. Also, given the fact that it's still one of the biggest money matches that they have. They've only done it once in 2 or 3 years, and they could really draw big money doing it again down the line. So why do it in front of a 1/3 capacity Dominion? None of that really makes sense to me, But when you think about Evil, first off, he's beaten Okada before. A lot of people don't remember that, but he beat Okada during the G1. Was it 2-3 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago. It was set up the King of Pro Wrestling. Was that 2017 King of Pro Wrestling?
Yeah, people forget he had a King of Pro Wrestling title match against Okada. The funny thing is the match where he beat him in the G1 was much better, in my opinion, than the G1 match was.
Yeah, I agree.
But but they've had several matches against one another, so they actually have a good history. They can have a good match, but Evil has, in my opinion, the more compelling story. The implications of what happens if it does end up being Evil and Naito is more compelling. There is a LIJ fan base that is just dying to see an interpromotional match between these two guys, and they were going to do they're going to sell out. I think they already did sell out, but they're going to sell out the 1/3 capacity Osaka-jo Hall regardless of who it was. Why not use this as an opportunity to take a chance and build a new star, which is something that the New Japan Cup has been known for, especially in modern years, rather than put it on Okada. Like last year they did Okada, and that's another reason. Okada's going to go back to back again. Like, you're going to tire your fan base out. I know a few years ago when people were upset about Okada having that historically long reign, and people were like, he always wins, and it's like, don't you see what they're doing? It made sense then, but at this point, business-wise, I don't know that it makes sense to take the belt off Naito. He hasn't even had a chance yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, I'm not even the biggest Naito fan, but like, let's see how it plays out. If you just go straight, I don't think the company is that fearful, unless, hypothetically, let's say the company's not doing so hot. They're not totally sure they want to go with Naito. Maybe they had pre-COVID. Maybe their financial worries are concerning them, and they do decide to just go back with Okada because he's tried and true. That is a possibility. But I think Gato's got a plan. I think he's got a story in place, and I think Evil is winning. And one last thing I want to say. Dave Meltzer said previously that the booking for this tournament might have changed a little bit, but that whoever was winning it was going to win it to begin with. I don't know that that's the case, but you look at the brackets, if they were going to go with Evil before, it totally seems plausible now that maybe that was always the swerve, and maybe we were just working ourselves into this idea. We thought it was going to be Sonata and Evil at the end. Or I'm sorry, Sonata and Jay White. Maybe Evil's been the plan all along, the whole time.
Yeah, maybe it's been Evil Okada the whole time, and a lot of people thought upset alert with Jay White Okada. Maybe the upset was Okada beating Jay White in the first round, and this was the exact plan the whole time: Okada versus Evil. I believe their record, I think Okada's 3-1, I think, against Evil in singles matches, something like that. So yeah, there's a story there. And yeah, I agree with all the points you made about Evil winning, and that's who I want to win as well, and that's who I think is going to win. I think Evil's going to beat Okada, get a big win, and then go on to Dominion to face Naito. So we did have a question here from @WestonGibbon on Twitter. What do you think Okada will get into at Dominion if Evil wins the cup? Maybe Master Wataga could challenge him last minute.
I mean, I don't know. I literally don't know. Like, because here's the thing. They've done a fantastic job working with a limited roster. And it's hard to say what's going to happen going into Dominion. I mean, Gato is just a master booker. They might have plans for him. He might just end up in a multi-man tag, you know?
Right.
They might just do your obligatory 8-man tag, Chaos versus Bullet Club, and then move on. And then we'll see what's next for him at, say, New Japan Road or Summer Struggle. I kind of think that's what they'll do. Unless they have a big angle.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Chaos either versus Bullet Club or LIJ, some, Sonata, Bushi, Hiromu maybe, some kind of multi-man.
Suzuki-gun.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So let's take a look at Dominion real quick. So it's the following day, July 12th, also in Osaka-jo Hall, 1/3 capacity. We have Shingo Takagi defending the Never Openweight title versus Sho.
Yeah, we have we actually do. We have the entire New Japan Cup final preview. We've got all the matches there. It looks okay. I mean, it's sort of, honestly, it's a one-man show, or it's a one-match show. It's Okada Evil and everything surrounding that. It will be exciting because we've got fans again for the first time since February. But it's really a one-match show, and it's more of a story around the match as opposed to the anticipation of what the match could actually deliver. On this night, though, we've got bangers, and we just got Shingo and Sho a few weeks ago. Some call it the match of the tournament. I think it might be it's definitely in the top 3. I think everyone kind of agrees on that. And for a couple of years now, it's been one of my favorite feuds in the entire company. And I can't wait. Show Shingo, sign me up. Absolutely. All day, every day.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another phenomenal match, especially that they'll have some crowd here. They had a phenomenal match with no crowd. So, yeah, it should be another great matchup here. And I think Shingo's going to retain here.
I think Shingo's going to retain, but we need to talk about this. A lot of questions have been coming out over, the past few weeks because Show's got new attire. He's got, his music again, which he gets every year, but every time he gets it, people are like, oh, are they going singles with him? But then on the flip side, Yo was in this tournament. He had new attire. He had new music. And people are like, oh, is it time for them to go separate? Never mind the fact that they've got the IWGP Junior Tag Championships. But Yo has recently been injured. I know we're going to talk about it in the news. I know people are asking questions about it, but I think we should discuss a little bit about it here. Yo's out of the picture. He's injured. We don't know how long. But does that open up a possibility, maybe, that now would be a good time to put the title on Show? It is the never openweight title. It does switch hands quite a bit. It could happen.
Yeah, you definitely open up that chance there. Yo with a torn ACL, he's going to be out for a long time. So, yeah, you could, put the title on Show here and have him have a singles run and kind of build him while Yo is out.
With that all being said, I got to be honest with you. That was just me playing devil's advocate. Shingo's going to fuck up Show, period. That was like literally, like that was a fluke. That Show beat Shingo. Shingo was pissed, and he's coming for that ass. Like, he's going to beat him, bro.
So next up, we have Golden Aces defending their titles against Dangerous Tekkers.
So the entire build to this feud, we've pretty much seen Dangerous Tekkers beating the crap out of Golden Aces. And not only that, but specifically, we've seen Taichi beat these guys, get the better of them, and hold their belts, stand tall over them. And in Western wrestling, you would normally think, oh, this is all to make the challengers look really, really, really strong so that the baby faces can beat the bad guys. But I'm looking at this card. It's been a long time since we've had a title change of any sort in the company. Golden Aces are a thrown together tag team, whereas Dangerous Tekkers have been tagging together for a couple years. I think that Dangerous Tekkers might win these belts. For real.
There is a good chance. Part of me has your thinking as well with Naito, with Golden Aces. Like, they really haven't had a chance. Like, you could, do some houses, good business with Tanahashi and Ibushi in the main event defending the titles. So maybe they want to hold it on them for longer. But then again, you got to look at the holistically, the tag division. There's not many credible heavyweight tag teams right now. And so you could always switch the belts back and forth. So you could have Dangerous Tekkers win here. And
that's what I think's happening.
You have Golden Aces have to come back.
If Dangerous Tekkers lose, and there's no other tag teams in the company right now, what are they going to do next? Especially with Sho and Yo in the junior division vacating the belts due to the injury for Yo. There's not even champions down there, so there's no one to draw with. You know what I mean? And they barely have a division there. So you really need something here. Now let's look at the flip side of things. Let's say Golden Aces win. Okay, they beat Dangerous Tekkers. They're out of the way. Who's next?
Great Bash Heel. Tenkozy.
Bro, those are not two teams that you can draw. You can't draw houses with them. Think about it. I don't know who else they could wrestle.
Suzuki and Desperado.
The tag division was already weak pre-COVID, and the other two major tag teams that you really had going, well, there's three. You had Sonata and Evil. That's always an option, I guess, depending on how things play out. But I don't know. The other two are Juice and Finley and God, and they're both stateside right now, so there's no chance of that happening. I think Dangerous Tekkers are going to win the belt, and that gives the Golden Aces something to chase against. I feel pretty confident they're winning those belts. And a lot of people are probably like, that's stupid because they've been winning they've been standing tall and beating them the whole time. And I'm thinking like, yeah, that's the booking idea. Is that like you're supposed to expect for Golden Aces to retain the belts? They're not going to. They're going to lose them and then probably chase after them and probably regain them, say, during Summer Struggle.
Yeah.
That's what I think's happening.
Yeah, and we've seen this with Gatos booking several times where the challenger is made super strong and just ends up winning. So
yeah, he does that all the time. It happens a lot. The other thing too is we've also seen where tag team titles just get switched back and forth. Think about that one year where it was like God and I'm trying to remember who it was God and I think Killer Elite Squad and I think the other
War
team
Machine.
was War Machine, and the three of them just kept trading the titles back and forth. That's why God has like 6 title reigns. They've got, so they don't. These titles are not held in high regard. But if the Golden Aces retain, they don't have any challengers. So I think Dangerous Techers is winning.
Yeah, I'm going with Dangerous Techers also. It makes a ton of sense here.
And while I haven't been a huge fan of the singles matches that these guys have had against each other during this New Japan Cup series, and I actually haven't even been a big fan of the post-match angles, Dangerous Techers have proven themselves to me multiple times during several World Tag Leagues that they are one of the best, if not, I think they might be the best tag team in New Japan. That's not saying a lot.
Right. Pretty easy bar there.
But I do think that like over the past 2 years, they might actually be like the best tag team in New Japan, especially since like God and Roppongi 3K are both out of commission for the time being. Like, it's not a bad idea to put those titles on them. Plus, ZSJ doesn't. I mean, what's Ibushi and Tanahashi and ZSJ going to do in the meantime, anyways?
Right. Yeah.
There's no one to wrestle.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes a ton of sense here. Yeah. Dangerous Techers. Let's go,
bro. You guys are listening to the Asa podcast. We called this shit, and next week, if it doesn't work out the way I'm saying, I'm not going to address it at all. We're just going to move on.
If we're wrong, our predictions are for entertainment purposes only. Always remember that.
And then in the main event of the evening, we have the we have Naito defending the double titles against either Okada or Evil.
Yeah, and I think both of us we're in agreement here that it's going to end up being Evil.
Yeah, but last week we were in agreement. We thought it was going to be Sonata.
Yeah, I mean,
we suck.
We can't count Okada out. You can't completely write him off. But I think the story obviously has been revolved around Evil. I think it makes more sense. I think it's a more compelling matchup than doing Okada versus Naito again right now.
How about the free match of the week this week was the match between Okada and Naito when Okada won the title, or when Naito won the title from Okada.
Yeah, Invasion.
Do you think that's a red? Was it Invasion Attack?
Yeah, 2016.
That's right.
I think that it did that to throw us off the scent. They want you to think, they the preview. Oh, so it's gonna be Okada Naito. Then nah, swerve, bro, swerve. Everything is evil, bro.
I 100% agree with you. I think that like Gato's back there doing that meme where he's got his finger to his head, just looking at us like knowingly, like he's trying to throw everybody off the scent. Like it's obviously going to be Evil Naito. He's trying to make us think it's Okada. He's like, they don't care about those matches of the week ever. And then the one time that like they care is this week. Like he called him. He's like, all right, this is what we're doing. Naito Okada. Recommend a match of the week. Do it. So yeah. Now here's the thing. I don't think Naito's losing the title either way, unless they're making some big changes. Like we cannot discount just how. I mean, first off, we know for a fact New Japan has lost. Not only New Japan Bushi Road, they have lost a lot of money due to not running shows, due to the ongoing pandemic across the world, as well as in Japan, they might, hypothetically, they might be looking for something to really shake things up. Now, I know there's some people who are thinking putting the double titles on Okada or Evil doesn't sound that exciting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're just thinking about it Okada again, that's the one thought. Okada again, that's not so great. Then you think about Evil, and it's like, Evil, the mid-card guy with the makeup and the costume like stuff? Like, nah. But there's a way they could do it. The story that they've been telling with Evil could actually be developed if they wanted to put the title on Evil, let's say. If they did something similar, what if that video about Naito versus Okada, and they showed how Naito beat Okada, it involved a lot of cheating, it involved a lot of attitude, and it was something that literally was the catalyst. A lot of people probably don't remember this, but Naito was the wrestler of the year that year when he beat Okada. That was the same match where after he won the title, he threw the IWGP title in the air and just let it fall. I know a lot of people are expecting Naito to have this really long title reign, but what if the swerve is that Evil is about to beat this man, and through some sort of really nefarious means, people have been talking to us years. When are they going to start building new stables? When are they going to switch things up? When is something exciting going to happen? After a 3-month long layoff and no fans in attendance, this might be the perfect time to actually do it. And what better guy to do it to than aging Naito?
Oh my gosh.
They might have Evil swerve this man, and after he wins the belts, throw them in the fucking air behind his back and do something entirely different.
Dude, what if somebody?
Am I crazy?
What if somebody from LIJ helps Evil win, and that it's more than just Evil splintering off? Like, what if Bushi helps Evil win, and it's like Evil and Bushi are splintering off?
I think that would be a shitty group, but but what if it was someone like
Shingo?
Shingo, yeah, or Sonata, or it probably shouldn't be Sonata, but what if it was Shingo? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or Hiromu, I don't know, or I don't know. We've seen when people have defected from other factions. You know, like when Yujiro defected from Chaos, things like that. I mean, maybe there's someone out there that's kind of languishing in some other group that could join with Evil and help him. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to tell you right now, my official prediction, Naito's retaining. But the more I'm talking about it, I feel like if it is Evil, what if they just go all the way with him and just have him fuck up Naito and win the title? Because what other exciting title matches do you see on the horizon for Naito after this is over?
Nothing really hot coming to mind right now.
I mean, the matches that were kind of on the table that we have that don't involve people that he's wrestled before and don't involve LIJ members were basically Will Ospreay. And who else?
That's about it, really.
The other one was Kenta. He wrestled Kenta.
Yeah, don't remind me.
But then you look at LIJ and there's a whole slew of guys he has not wrestled. But there are matches they could do, you know. But you look at Okada, he's wrestled him, you know, several times. They could draw money off that, but there's Okada. There's Ishii, they've wrestled, had title matches against one another.
Ibushi.
I mean, Ibushi, they've had long-ass series. I mean, most of the guys that he would be defending the title against traditionally are people that he's had lots of matches against in the past. Even foreign heels like Chris Jericho, you know, once he comes back, you know. I mean, I guess there is always a Jon Moxley match out there, but they wrestled in the G1 this year. But, I mean, the majority of the exciting matches are guys from LIJ. Maybe they do need to just take the maybe they need to have Evil beat his ass.
Yeah, that could happen.
What are you thinking, man?
I mean, I'm a coward, so I'm going with the safe pick of Naito retaining here and keeping the double titles, but you're slowly talking me into Evil winning this thing.
I don't expect Evil to hold. I mean, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. It's still the IWGP title. It's still supposed to be something that's only reserved for like the tip top guys. So there's a part of me that's like, I'm going to come out of fantasy land and get a little more realistic and think like, should Naito be touching that title? Hell no. Unless maybe they got something really compelling for Naito that we just don't know about, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we did have a question here from Imp saying, with everything that's happened this year, does it feel pretty much a lock in that Naito will retain the IWGP Championship to at least Wrestle Kingdom next year?
It feels like that, doesn't it?
You would think that would be the way.
You would think that way, and maybe that's why they need to take the belt off of him, because it just – what we know at this point is we've got after this, New Japan Road, Summer Struggle, and then at some point down the line, there's going to be a G1, and obviously the champion's not going to lose his belt in the G1. Wouldn't that be a concept? Wouldn't that be a concept if the champion was defending the title every night in the G1?
That would definitely raise the stakes in the tournament.
But then, like, you don't want that title, like, you know, flip-flopping all the time. So the guy who's the champion pretty much would need to retain it most of the tournament. It kind of takes – I mean, it's going to be bad one way or the other. Either they hotshot the belt a few times, or it's very predictable because the person who's the champion retains it for almost all or the entire tournament. So,
now,
I mean, I don't know.
Now, if Naito loses to Evil, could he win the G1?
I guess he could, but I mean – we should talk about the G1 later, but I mean, who knows what the fuck the G1's going to look like? We don't even, I mean, dude, look at what's happening in America. I mean, are we like, I don't even know if they're going to let Americans or people from the States go to Japan, you know?
Yeah.
Not saying that all the Gaijin workers are from America, but a lot of them are here. I mean, who knows if they're going to be able to go back? I don't know.
Yeah, it might be a while before we see any of those guys.
But I mean, in the meantime, yeah, if you're just really conservative, yes, it does feel like Naito will probably remain the champion. I don't know after these two shows if they're going to keep doing fans. I hope they're able to, from a health perspective, because I hope things continue to clear up and be safe in Japan and improve, and they get to a point where it's not a big deal and they can just keep do empty or do fan shows, and we can kind of see what kind of drawing power Naito has. But right now, everything's so in flux because of how everything's played out. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. And you know, we could just be speculating this whole time. They might just put the belt back on Okada. They might just choke two bitches out and just take that shit.
That's always a possibility. Always go back to the Golden Boy. Well, that's going to wrap things up for Dominion. There are 7 to 9 matches that are going to be planned for the event. We have a question here from PCN91. It says, so I know they announced the 3 title matches for Dominion, but have yet to put out a full card. Is there anything else you can see being added to the card between now and Sunday?
Kawato versus Doki, the rematch. It's a grudge match, and it's going to be a steel cage I quit match.
I thought you were going to say hair versus hair.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, probably just a bunch of tag matches.
Yeah, probably multi-man. Like, there's no other program that hasn't built up that you can really do a singles match from. So I think it's going to be just a lot of undercard tags that will help set up programs for the next tour.
And I know it would be easy to complain and be like, oh, that sucks. But then it's also like, but we just got so many singles matches that it's kind of balanced out. It's like, yeah, would I love to see more singles matches? Sure. But there's no tournament and there's no narrative. So they need to do some tag matches. And also, these guys all deserve to get on a show with an audience to get a payday. So I'm fine with it. It's probably going to be a bunch of tag matches.
All right, so real quickly, we got to talk about Lions Break Collision. Debuted on last Friday on NJPW World. Overall, what were your thoughts on Lions Break Collision?
I thought it had good production value. I thought it was pretty decent, easy watch. Some interesting talking points, but again, it's a lot of the things we talked about. Most of it felt like it was sort of happening in its own little universe, similar to a lot of the U.S. stuff, and not something that's really going to be regarded that much when it comes to the greater New Japan canon. I don't know.
Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. Like you mentioned, I thought it had great production, probably one of the better production values of U.S. produced shows. Great graphics. I loved all the graphics. I love the setup of the ring, the lighting, all that stuff. I thought all that stuff looked great. But yeah, I totally get you. It does kind of feel like it's its own little thing, which I think is fine for now. Obviously, not many people, none of those guys are going to Japan anytime soon. So I think it kind of makes sense to kind of create something here in the meantime and get these guys some ring time and get them prepared for when they eventually do go back. But they are telling stories here. We saw Clark Connors defeat Alex Coughlin, a 10-minute draw. We kind of know the story there of Young Lions, and with Coughlin and Connors, they're kind of, with Fredericks graduating, they're kind of the two seniors of that class, and so they don't want to be left behind, and they're trying to be the next ones to kind of break out.
Well, the really interesting thing is Clark Connors is what's the official he's the captain. That's what they're calling him. He's the captain of the LA Young Lions. So, and in the past, he has shown himself to be in a higher pecking order over Alex Coughlin. Is it Coughlin or Coughlin? I always mess it up.
So,
Coughlin.
He tweeted something about this. I didn't know if he was joking, if he was serious. He was saying that it was pronounced Coolin. So I have no idea anymore.
Fuck you, Alex. Now, that is someone who actually could be listening. No, but in all seriousness, in the kayfabe sense, Clark has always been higher than Alex, just the way they portrayed things. But they went to a 10-minute draw with one another, and it's been a while since we've seen either Clark or Alex. And in this instance, Alex looked like he was getting the better of Clark going down the stretch of the match. And not only that, not only normally, hypothetically, in the past, Clark would have put Alex away within 10 minutes. In this case, he didn't. And not only that, Alex had him in an armbar pretty deep when the time expired. And it looked like he absolutely was on the verge. If they gave him, say, another 2 minutes, another 5 minutes, he might have even beat Clark Connors. So I know some people kind of complained. I saw some complaining about, like, oh, they opened up with the Young Lion match and it went to a draw. It was like, first off, guys, it's a 10-minute match. Second off, there's a story here. Alex Coughlin went 10 minutes with the captain of the Young Lions in Clark Connors, showing that, A, he's on his level now, progression, and B, he might even be surpassing him. So it sets up a feud between the two of them, and it shows that Alex has improved greatly, and he's a force to be reckoned with when it comes to Young Lions. It's really cool.
Right, and also this show is obviously inspired by Lionsgate Project in Japan, and it's following the same format. I mean, how many Lions Project shows did we see an opening match where there was a 10-minute draw between whoever, Yagi, Narita, whoever was on those shows? So,
and Jeremy, what needs to happen in order for them to stop having those draws?
They need to get better than their opponent.
No.
Oh, get more time.
That's it. That is the key. That's what we've seen in several of these feuds in the past. These guys, neither of them, they're at a stalemate. They're at a point where neither one of them can put one another away within, say, 10 minutes. When they give them more time, that's the true test of who is the better man. And we can kind of see the progression of the feud. That's what's happening here. Clark Connors and Alex Coughlin, maybe they have another 10-minute draw. Maybe they have a little trilogy. I don't know. I can't wait to see what happens down the line. I hope that the next time they wrestle, it kind of gets referenced to. I'm sure it will. I'm sure Kevin Kelly and them will do their homework. And, Samson's listening. I'm sure he's going to definitely point it out.
You'll have the stats ready.
Who knows? If they go 15 minutes the next time, maybe Alex is able to go 10 minutes with Clark now, but maybe he gets, bridged and pinned 13 minutes in. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I thought the match was fine. I didn't think it was blow away, but I thought it told a good story, and I like what they're doing here.
Same here. Yeah, I thought it was a good way to kind of open up the show there. Then we had the main event, the Alpha Wolf, Carl Fredericks and TJP defeated Jeff Cobb and Rocky Romero, with Carl Fredericks getting the pin on our good friend Rocky Romero.
Our good friend beat our other good friend. So they opened up this Lions Break Project show with the interview that you guys might have seen recently, where Kevin Kelly was talking to a recently graduated Carl Fredericks, and they were kind of discussing the fact that he is no longer considered a young lion. Apparently, he was going to allegedly make, based on what he said in the interview, he was going to make his graduating debut during the New Japan Cup in the first round, and that obviously things didn't work out due to the COVID, but this evening would kind of mark the debut of his new gear, his new attire, and his new attitude. And I did see something people were kind of alluding to, and I totally agree. They were saying, the idea that they started the show addressing the fact that he was graduating, and then B, highlighted him as the main focal point of the main event, just kind of shows what kind of investment New Japan has in him as a talent, and what kind of hopes and aspirations they have for him as far as his trajectory is with just everything.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen the fact, we've just seen how he's been pushed, how he won the Young Lions Cup, and how he's been featured in some other tournaments and given opportunities that usually Young Lions don't get. So New Japan is definitely invested in Carl Fredericks. And we have a couple questions here about Carl's debut and his match. First from Rambo and Slam Pig. Did you see Carl Fredericks in his new look at Lions Break Collision? What are you thinking with the dangly earring and millions of tassels? I feel like he's a surefire star, but I don't know if this is the look that will take him to the top.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's funny because, for me as a kid, we're not that too far off in age from Carl Fredericks, honestly. And, me growing up, I loved guys that wore tassels. I just did. I loved the Rockers. I loved Ultimate Warrior. I loved Tatanka. Anybody who had tassels, I just thought they were the rawest fucking thing, for real. And it's been a while since you kind of see – I mean, I know some guys would do it, but it's been a while since you see a top talent that kind of breaks out tassels. I'm not saying that he can't get over with that, but – I thought the look was interesting. It definitely had mixed reviews.
Yeah, and what I thought about, we interviewed Carl a few months ago. You can check that out on the archives. We interviewed Carl, and he talked about, wanting to represent that Native American, part of his ancestor, of his history, of his family, and he wanted to represent that in wrestling and in New Japan. So the tassel kind of made sense, kind of a Tatanka kind of look, but I don't know. I really liked the look. I thought he looked cool. I don't know. I liked it a lot.
I don't think it was necessarily bad. I'm just thinking a lot of people kind of view him as hypothetically being a top drawing star, for instance. And I think there is a certain idea of what a top guy looks like in North America. And so I think some people are thinking a guy in tassels isn't necessarily going to be that ideal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I'll tell you, I like the tassels. I do think the earring was a bit much, though. That kind of was kind of the same way how I don't really love the scarf on Robbie Eagles. I don't really love the dangly earring on Carl Fredericks personally. But, that's his prerogative. I don't know. I mean, I think the main reason I don't like it is because I feel like it's a hazard. And also it's not 1992. So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if he wants to wear it for the entrance and take them off before the match so that they don't end up getting ripped out or something. But yeah, didn't have too much of a problem with them. But yeah, overall, I like his appearance, the gear, the kind of presentation of him. Thought it was good.
It's very clear though that they've got big plans and big hopes for him overall, and I thought he did well in this match and in the presentation. So, for instance, just throwing an example out there, the first time I saw Brody Lee in AEW, I didn't really like his gear either, but I liked his presentation, and they very quickly adjusted it. And now I think that, his ring gear is pretty good, actually. you know, a lot of guys come out their first time, new gear, you know, new presentation, and it doesn't hit, you know. So who knows how he'll end up feeling about it or other people. But I'm sure this isn't like his end all be all look.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm sure he's gonna make adjustments while he's kind of like learning who he is and figuring things out. Look at Juice, how Juice dressed when he first. I know right now Juice's Juice's last gear isn't the ideal, but like Juice versus how he was when he first came out versus now is like night and day. So I mean, that's another, you know, there's going to be some growth and there's going to be some evolution for everybody.
Next question here from Reddit user Just a Little Bear 01. Given Carl Frederick's promo at the end of the first Lions Break episode, would you think more he's being set up as the lone wolf, or is he building himself a pack? And why do I hear NWO Wolfpack music in my head now?
I wouldn't say that this was a great promo necessarily, but I would say I loved the things that Carl Frederick said here. You know, it was definitely real. The way he was talking, he was coming fresh off a match. He was definitely like spent from having wrestled the match. So, I mean, there was a lot of emotion there. I didn't think the delivery was necessarily what you look for from a great promo and the timing and everything. But the words he said indicate to me, if I were to take a guess, it didn't sound like necessarily someone who was trying to go off and be this lone Sting-esque type of character. It sounded like someone who was alluding to the idea that they're going to start their own faction.
That's what it sounded like to me. Like, he's going to be the alpha. He's going to be the leader of the pack. But the LA Dojo eventually is going to like become, when they all graduate, they're going to become a faction, and he's going to be the leader of it.
Could he call it the Alpha Club?
Le Champion might have a problem with that.
Now, I don't know if that's exactly what they're trying to do, like bring in all the LA Dojo guys into his group, if he even has a group, that is. So I wouldn't, but I'm not opposed to that idea necessarily. This also could be a case of there's not a lot of oversight. Guys are given the opportunity to kind of say whatever they want to say, and it might not mean anything. Right. You know, we've seen a lot of guys make claims that don't amount to anything.
Right. It was one of those post-match kind of media type promos. It wasn't like a pre-tape or like a normal kind of promo. It was a post-match promo where like guys kind of say what they want back there, and sometimes it doesn't end up coming true.
You know what I would love? I would love that he had taken the opportunity to cut a promo and said something that like Gato hears it, didn't know about it, and then it sparks something in him, and he's like, "Oh, why don't we do that? Why don't we go that way?"
Yeah.
You know, you it's that whole Vince McMahon like grabbing the brass rings thing. You know, this guy's trying to go out there and grab the brass rings. Like, fuck it, yeah, like give him an opportunity. Let's see what happens next. Like, I would love it. Maybe it does lead to something really cool.
Yeah, that would be dope. Last question here from Reddit user Viking Payne says, which attire did you like least, Kawato's or Carl Fredericks? And thoughts on Lions Collision show overall, and who between the Kawato and Fredericks has the higher ceiling and the lowest floor on the main roster?
I would say I didn't like Kawato's initial, just everything about him, like everything about it I didn't like more than Carl. But I would tell you the truth, I didn't love the presentation of either of them, personally. That's my take. But at the same time, like, Carl still had a match and still looked good and still cut a fire promo, and he's still Carl Fredericks. I mean, just look at the guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's got star written all over him. Kawato, I don't know, man. Kawato went out there. I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I definitely like Carl's attire way more than Kawato's. I think Carl definitely has the higher ceiling. I could see Carl being in that top main event mix.
Bro, the moment I saw what was going on, I got to tell you, I could see Carl Fredericks winning an IWGP title at some point. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that that's a lofty goal. But I'll tell you right now, if 5 to 10 years from now, he hasn't held it once or twice, I wouldn't, or let's say in 5 to 10 years he has, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. given the type of push they're giving him, look at him. Look at him. He's got matinee idol looks. He's a really great worker. Shibata believes in him. Like, he's the top of his class. Like, he can talk. He's got charisma. Bro, he's a freaking star. I think that they really wanted who was the one guy? Yoshida?
Ayato Yoshida, yeah.
Ayato Yoshida was another guy who I was like, dude, they see money all over him. And who knows I know he's like he's working like 2AW or like All Japan, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll ever come back, but that was a guy who I thought they saw big money in. I think they see big money in Carl Fredericks. They pushed freaking Jay White to win the title. Why not Carl Fredericks? You know what I'm saying?
Right. And something I found very interesting was the fact that he was supposed to debut this new gear and push in the New Japan Cup first round against Kenta. Could that have been a first round upset?
Maybe. I don't think so. But maybe. I don't know.
But overall, Lions Brick Collision, I think it's a pretty good show.
One last thing, we didn't even touch on this. He rolled up Rocky.
Yeah, he got the pin on Rocky Romero,
which I thought was smart because he beat Rocky. He's a heavyweight beating a junior, makes total sense. But he also didn't like put him out emphatically. He didn't hit him with his finisher, whatever his finisher is going to be, if he even has one yet. But Rocky is an established vet, well respected, and the fact that he beat him kind of was in his first like debuting, like
it's
kind of a big deal. I also had a thought, what if, and I know that this is a little bit like maybe too much on the mark or whatever, but what if the next tag team is Carl Fredericks and Toa Henare?
You could do that.
I've got this feeling like, Toa Henare has been like getting in great shape. He's got that Muay Thai. He's been like, and he's also, kind of like a Kiwi. Like his whole gimmick is like he's a Kiwi. And then you've got like Carl Fredericks, kind of going into his heritage, being like, Indian or whatever, or Native American. I mean, I'm Native. We all just say Indian, so it's whatever. But, kind of playing into that. And like, what if those two guys kind of united? I think they'd be like a really good tag team.
Yeah, both of them young, a lot of fire. Yeah, that could be a good team.
So, I know we've got people on record confirmed from New Japan that definitely listen to this podcast. We used to like wonder about it. We know for a fact that they do. If you're listening, send word up, gentlemen or ladies. Book it.
So we do have the lineups for the next couple of weeks. So this coming Friday, July 10th, it will feature DKC versus Russ Taylor and
who? I don't know who either of those guys are.
So they're two independent stars from the West Coast scene. They've had trials before with New Japan or have worked some shows with like guys like Narita and stuff like that. So they're giving a shot here, and I'm not familiar with either of these guys, so it's going to be interesting to see this matchup here. And then the main event will be Danny Limelight versus TJP. Then the following Friday, July 17th, it'll be Carl Fredericks versus Mysterioso, one-on-one. And then Filthy Tom Lawler versus Rocky Romero, which kind of starts a partnership with NJPW and MLW. And then on July 24th, we'll have Filthy Tom Lawler versus Alex Coughlin and Mysterioso versus Danny Limelight. And then the last one that's taped, July 31st, we'll have TJP versus Rocky Romero and Jeff Cobb versus Carl Fredericks.
Yeah, that Carl Fredericks Jeff Cobb match, that's like the one thing that really like stands off of the page for me.
Yeah, and kind of the whole kind of feud they've been building from that first tag match. So that should be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's right. There was a huge pull apart and disrespect between the two of them during that first match. So that makes total sense. I mean, obviously I'm excited for Filthy Tom. I love Filthy Tom. I've been watching him since he was in the UFC. So absolutely. But I mean, you look at all the matches, TJP versus Rocky Romero is also interesting because they're both Inoki Dojo boys. So it's kind of like coming a full circle sort of thing on that 731 show, and then Cobb versus Fredericks. Yeah, I like this show. It's pretty cool. I don't know what it's going to do long term for them. But yeah, it's a cool opportunity. So I mean, I enjoyed it for what it is.
Yeah, it was real cool. All right, so we have a few news items we need to get through here, and I know we got a lot of off-topic questions. I think we need to punt those to next week, go through the news real quick, and go through recommended match of the week, and end this show so it's not longer than 3 hours. So in the news, we talked about it earlier, Yoshihashi has a right knee injury. Torn ACL, left knee. So both these guys injured, going to be missing some time. Question here from Reddit user Viking Pain says, unfortunately, it seems that and Yoshihashi are going on IR with injuries. What do you guys think will happen to Sho now? A move to heavyweight, a new junior partner like Rocky, a big singles run in the junior division.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of the speculation we, discussed earlier. What does the rest of the year hold? We don't really know. It does seem, on a positive note, like more dates might be getting announced in the near future. Right now, we just kind of have, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that pretty much it? It's just New Japan Road and then Summer Struggle, and that's all we know right now, right?
Right, and then, we'll talk about it soon, but G1's still on the schedule.
And if G1 is still on the schedule, like we discussed, that changes a lot of things. So, I mean, for a guy like Sho, who knows? Given how things are sort of playing out with COVID, there could be a hypothetical G1 bid for him. I don't think that means a permanent move to heavyweight by any means. But, I mean, we don't know if there's going to be a Super Juniors. We don't know what kind of, junior opportunities even, are out there. How are him and Rocky even going to tag together if Rocky can't even get to Japan?
Right.
We do know for a fact that they are going to be they're vacating the junior titles. We don't even know what's going to happen with the junior titles going forward. I would say right now, Sho is kind of going to be in what I would like to call the open weight division. He will probably be technically a junior, but I wouldn't be surprised if every now and then he's used in the heavyweight capacity if needed, because they have a limited roster right now.
Yeah, I mean, last year in G1, we saw Ospreay and Shingo compete as junior heavyweights in that tournament, and both of those guys were kind of floating in that open weight kind of division, so I think that's exactly a great place for Sho to kind of be in. And yeah, with G1 still on the schedule and not knowing who all is going to be available, why not throw Sho in there and have him kind of do what Ospreay and Shingo did last year?
Yeah, normally I'd say there's no need to bring him over. Normally I'd say no. But because of the fact that there is limited talent availability, it would make a lot of sense for them to bring him over. So who knows? And I would love for there to still be a Best Super Juniors,
Yeah,
I don't know if there will be or not, but if there is, then that's a great opportunity for him as well.
Yeah. Question here from Reddit user Highfly Flow. With Yo getting injured, what do you think is the future of the tag team division?
I think that we, last week, either last week or the week before, we kind of discussed the junior tag division and who was out there, and it was pretty dire. There's not a lot of tag teams right now. I'm sure they're not having a junior tag league this year, or at least I'm pretty sure. And that title might just be vacant for a period of time until there are people that can compete for it, or maybe they put it on, say, Kanemaru and Desperado again. I don't know.
Yeah. Personally, I think they should just use this opportunity to scrap the titles and just have one tag division, but knowing them, they probably wouldn't do that. But yeah, I think especially right now with limited talent, we really need just one tag division.
Here's the thing, Jeremy. I wouldn't disagree with you normally. I would agree. I mean, I think we're both pretty vocal. I think it makes more sense to have one tag division, make it open weight, But here's the problem. They don't even really have enough tag teams between either division to warrant that as being a good idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? Think about it. There's two, maybe three heavyweight tag teams and one junior tag team, and that's it. So it doesn't even really benefit anybody that much anyways. They're not going to draw with Desperado and Kanemaru wrestling, say, the Golden Aces. None of it really makes sense at this point. it'd make more sense if everyone was there, and then we'd have cool like matchups, that you could be doing with like Roppongi 3K and God and stuff like that. But right now, I mean, it's all just bullshit. Sucks.
Last question here from Alex Watts. He says, I mean no offense in this statement, but I have to ask, 2 years from now, will Roppongi 3K be together, or will we be calling Yo the Jannetty?
We like to joke about Yo being Marty Jannetty because it's a funny thing to say, but let's be clear here. And I know this is a controversial statement, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but I think that the majority of people who actually watched them in their prime will agree with this. Marty Jannetty was better than Shawn Michaels when they were a tag team, and that is just a fact. And Yo's not better than Show, so I don't know if that's the best analogy. But anyways, also I hope that Yo doesn't turn out like Marty Jannetty because, dude, like the funny thing is like that whole speaking out movement happened, and like everyone kind of knows about Marty that like you couldn't even like accuse him of anything because it's so out in the open and no one just cares. Like, it's just literally, he's like
so known that nobody spoke out on him.
It's so known that no one even like spoke out because he wouldn't even be like blowing a whistle. Like, it's already out there. But anyways, 2 years from now, will Roppongi 3K be together? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, this injury could have altered things. Originally, like I said at the beginning of this year, I thought this was going to be kind of like the last big year for them. They were going to have like a year-long tag title run, get that long one they never got, and then once they lost the belts, break up. But who knows now?
We're too optimistic when it comes to the tag division. We're always like talking about these great, lofty ideas of what they could do with rejuvenating the heavyweight tag titles, and the junior division, and that shit never happens. Like, they don't care. And especially with COVID, like, that's the least of their worries right now, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, who knows what will happen?
They're trying to figure out if they should go with Evil or Naito right now.
Yeah. I have seen some people kind of throw the idea maybe Yo should come back with LIJ and kind of separate the team that way. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think he's going to come back as part of the Wolfpack with Carl Fredericks.
Okay, you never know. Could happen. Or maybe he'll come in a team with Master Wato. Who knows? So last few news items here. So there was a report in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and also kind of followed up what Harold May said in Sports Illustrated about what's going on backstage right now. So backstage, the current backstage rules in place relate to talent and staff for the live events right now, or that talent go under temperature checks twice daily and have to keep a log on every person they've been in contact with in between tests. They are tested constantly. Locker rooms are zoned and have staggered entry. All conversations are supposed to be limited. The previous buffet-style catering has been done away with. Instead, the promotion brings containers of food and beverages with the names of the individuals on them. The ring and ringside area are disinfected between matches, which we've been seeing. And in the interview with Sports Illustrated, Harold May did confirm that they have been doing COVID testing for the performers.
Perfect. I hope that is the case. The one thing, and it's just concerning to me, is that they have a huge PDF official statement, and it talks about everything that's in this, everything that's in here, every single part of it. It's in there, except for the COVID testing. The conspiracy theorist in me just wonders, why is it not in the official document if they're actually doing it all the time? That's my one concern. Now, granted, if it's coming from Dave, there's a good chance it's accurate. And if Harold May is saying it, I'm not calling him a liar. And we've had other people who have kind of disagreed with me and said that they're doing it. I just wonder why it's not in their official PDF about their protocols and procedures, and why when they listed everything they're doing previously, why didn't they say it? Maybe it was just an oversight. Maybe,
And maybe it's something that got lost in translation, maybe.
That is a possibility. And if they are doing it, bravo. So far, up until this moment, they have handled this entire situation flawlessly and better than any other company in the industry. And that was my one concern, was that why aren't they testing? And now we've got people saying they're testing. I hope they are. I just had reason to believe that maybe they weren't, based on some of the statements they made.
Yeah, I definitely see how it could be kind of confusing based on the original statements on what they said.
And an official PDF.
Right.
That had all the rules, procedures, and everything that they're doing.
So also in that Sports Illustrated article, Harold May talked about New Japan's return to Japan and U.S. and what to expect for the rest of the year. The main thing is he mentioned that G1 Climax is still on the calendar for New Japan Pro Wrestling, but that will, of course, depend on their own and local government's guidelines. So if everything continues to go well, G1 Climax will remain on the calendar and those shows will happen.
Great.
And like we mentioned earlier, the Monday free match is Okada versus Naito from Invasion Attack 2016. I think that's to throw us off the scent there for have Evil Naito and not another Okada Naito match. Like I mentioned, thank you guys for sending in questions. So the ones that are off topic, we're going to punt to next week, and we will answer those next week. And
Whiz Factor, Viking Pain, Life is a Dragon, Agent Wallaby, and Kyle Martin. We got you next week. Trust us.
So let's
also, Life is a Dragon. What the fuck is up with your question? It is. It's the longest, craziest ass question ever.
Yeah, I can't wait to answer that one. So recommended match of the week. Last week you recommended to me to watch Nagata versus Kensuke Sasaki from Wrestling World 2004, and holy crap, was that a freaking bloodbath. Oh my gosh, dude. Freaking their heads were leaking. Oh my dude. At one point where Nagata's laying on the mat and literally a pool of blood is building up from the freaking back of his head. Dude, this match was nuts.
Bro, I told you. It's like one of those things that, like, someone tells you, it's like, oh, this is the bloodiest match in the history of this company. And you're just like, oh, okay, you know. But, like, how bloody can it be? I mean, there's no light tubes. There's no, you know, webs of, you know, freaking, I don't know.
Barbed wire.
Like, barbed wire and C4. Like, you think it's not a death match. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, how bad could this be? Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. And not only that, like, it's so bloody, but it's also like a strong style fight. And they're like just whacking. It is so good.
Dude, they're freaking headbutting each other. You know, big forearm strikes, you know, suplexes, big strikes. Yeah, once they're busted open, they're both working on the cut, so more blood comes out from both of them. Yeah, and poor Red Shoes, he was wearing a white shirt trying to ref this match. Dude, this was a bloody, crazy brawl. Definitely has to be one of the bloodiest matches in New Japan history. So if you still haven't watched that one yet,
it's one of the bloodiest matches in wrestling history. Yes, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, make sure you watch that one. My recommended match of the week this week.
Whoa, you didn't tell me your final thoughts on it.
Oh, dude, I loved it, but it was like a crazy, just wild, bloody brawl.
What rating would you have given this thing?
Dude, I don't even know how to rate that. Because it wasn't like they were doing like a bunch of high spots, or like it wasn't like a super long dramatic match, but it was super violent, super bloody, very stiff, very well worked. Also, yeah, it was also something to mention. It was, I guess it was like a last man standing / death match rules where it was knockout or submission. Because I noticed there was like a 10 count attempt of 10 counts where guys were knocked down, and then Nagata ended up winning where he had a Nagata locked in, and Sasaki passed out, or ref stoppage, however you want to call it. So that was interesting also. But yeah, I don't even know.
You know, I've never heard that was part of the rules. I just always, and maybe I'm just misinformed, I just always thought they were just counting the guys out because they were down.
Yeah. Well, the caption on New Japan World said like life or death match, so or something like that.
Oh, that would make sense. You know, I've never actually picked up on that. And I mean, I've watched this match like 3 or 4 times. It's one of those matches where it's like, it's kind of like watching, did you see Joker yet?
The new one that came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one.
It's like really good movie, but I don't know how many times I could actually watch it. You know, it's not gonna be like casual viewing after.
Right.
That's kind of what like Nagata and Sasaki is like. Like I've seen it a few times, but I'm not like gonna like fire it up every day or anything. It's pretty violent, but yeah. The funny thing is like over the years, every time I watch it, I appreciate it more, and I think I rate it a little higher every time. Like the first time I saw it, I was like 4 stars, and now I'm like I'm higher on it than I used to be. I don't know exactly where I am, but I'm like. It's kind of perfect, but yeah, I never picked up that it was a knockout and submission only or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I'd be like 4.25 in that range.
Man, I don't know. It's pretty good. I'm gonna go higher than that.
Well, you add stars for blood, so I could see why this will be 5 stars for you.
No, but in all seriousness, like I mean, like I love the house style of New Japan today, but like I missed this, and this was sort of the house style at one point where guys just came in and whooped each other's asses. Like it was kind of great.
So yeah, great matchup. Yeah, great bloody brawl. So the recommended match for this week will be Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Prince Devitt from Dominion 2013.
I don't think I've ever seen this. Did you watch this?
I did. Now,
did you like it?
Keep in mind, this is Devitt. Bullet Club, Tamatonga's out there. Carl Fredericks is out there.
I've seen this. I have seen this. I saw it. I'm sorry. I couldn't remember if I saw it or not. You know what I was thinking it was? Because I remember Tanahashi and Devitt, they had a match at the anniversary show. When
right.
Devitt was a good... I've never seen that. And then I know that they've had a match at the G1 prior to Bullet Club, and I've never seen that. But this Dominion match where this is literally right after Best of the Super Juniors, right?
Right, yeah.
After he beat Alex Shelley. Yeah, I saw it on the weekly television show. What was it called? The New Japan on Access. Yeah, I've seen this match. I don't remember how it ends. I think he beats Tanahashi.
He does.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, I thought the action in the ring was really good. Of course, you have your Bullet Club shenanigans and interference, but outside of that, I thought it was a pretty good match.
What made you select this? This is a random selection.
Well, we're got Dominion coming up on Sunday. We've had juniors versus heavyweights in this New Japan Cup. So I thought it was kind of a great way to kind of mix both of those trends there and go in the Dominion archive. And we got this junior versus heavyweight matchup and a big deal of Prince Devitt defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Makes sense. Good selection. Good job, Jeremy. So I think that is going to do it for this week's show.
Yeah, that's going to wrap things up for us this week. Next week, we'll be back to discuss the New Japan Cup Finals and Dominion. So if you enjoy this show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, we are at KI Strong Style. Also follow us at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we are at Social Suplex. On Reddit, we are Pro Black Guy, and Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. You can check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have Wednesday Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Every other Wednesday, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling, Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Fridays, we have Get in the Ring with Danny and Beast Mike. And on Saturdays, we have All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.